My name is shadesplitter and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today's video is going to be slightly different to the previous videos from the series. We had just finished Shadow Warrior 2, and on our adventure we have gotten a whole bunch of collectibles like the swords, the scrolls and the fortune cookies. Unfortunately, in order to cut the video short, I also had to cut out a whole lot of those, so you didn't get to see all of them, and also didn't get to read any of the scrolls that we picked up. So for today's episode, we're going through the WANGLOPEDIA and just reading through the weapons, the animals, the world, and the fortune cookies. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. The first sword we've got here is called the Lil Wang. This katana's got ice in its veins, blood in its eyes, hate in its heart, and love on its mind. Next up, we have the Blades of Zaibatsu. These double chi-tech katanas emit a powerful chi blast with each strike, a favorite among Zilla Corps soldiers. The Twin Dao. May the poetic curve of these Middle Eastern blades inspire to ever greater displays of balletic bloodletting. The Sword of Oni, the favored blade of hammerhead demons, crude, slow, and devastating. The Z45 katana, sleek, elegant, and deadly, the samurai sword brought to perfection by modern science and ancient chi-bending rituals. The Blizzard. Legend says this weapon was forged on a cold day in hell. Nobitsura Kage. A modern replica, recreating a beloved blade to its tiny detail, whereas Demon Soul not included. The set includes an update on the notation of the blade for customers who mispronounce the hell out of it. Seriously. Cage? The item was created with a high-end Western market in mind, focusing on hardcore cosplayers and die-hard fans. Warning, not for children under age 3 years, choking hazard. The Crim Swords. What these lack in size, they make up for with speed. Twice the blades, twice the chunks. The Blade of Exile. Little is known about the origin of this sword. Scholars studying demon linguistics have only been able to translate a single word of the engravings on its blade, the word Hoji. The Fist of Gozu. This big, meaty, and brutal, just as its namesake. What else did you expect from a big fucking axe? The Arm of Orochi. The pinnacle of Zilla's Chitana experiments, an elegant weapon for an entirely uncivilized age. Ryuken. Forged by Smith Masamune, this blade contains the ashes of Satoru Masamune, and is said to possess a curious power. The Ripper. Whether you need to chop up a Cobb salad or your mortal enemy's torso, these curved beauties never fail. Primal Bone Blades. These demon bone blades are totally tribal, bro. Talon's Arm. A gorgeous example of scavenger art. Never let a good claw go to waste. Kazaguruma. This modern take on a triple-edged Halidi dagger is based on ancient Hindu and Syrian designs, but with extra silicone carbide. A true patriot. For those that like to get up close and personal, this tomahawk and dagger come as a set. The Beast. Demonic times call for demonic wrist blades. Kuzuri. Safety note. When you're done being a whirling maelstrom of death, take these off before using the restroom. Plasma Cutters. Double hand blades with embedded chi-tech? I'll take 2, please. Shredders. Don't bring a gun to a chi-enabled wrist blades fight. Ghidorah. This weapon is said to be carved from the same material as the ancients' battlesuits by the same maker. Kids these days will believe anything. Devolver Anaconda. Nothing beats the simplicity of a revolver. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Deckard. This high-caliber cheap plasma revolver was specifically designed for hunting rogue androids, but it works just fine on demons. Also humans, house pets, plants, and televisions. .50. Kicks like a mule, spits death and looks cool. Sounds like Wang's new best friend. The Marvin. Marvin? What a name. This is what you get when you let retro-futurist hipsters into your weapons lab. Looks like Flash Gordon, punches like Jack Dempsey. I don't know who Jack Dempsey is. Swift and Messin. This small caliber handgun dates from a time when people carried concealed weapons. Who the hell wants to conceal a weapon? The Triad. If this triple-barreled revolver's materials weren't fully infused with chi, firing it would tear your arm off. It's not exactly civilized, but then again, neither are you. Jigoku. Oh, look at that. That looks badass. What looks like intricate carving on this weapon is actually 12 trapped demons howling for souls to devour. Not kidding. The Sidekick. For the true ninja marksman, shoots 600 rounds per minute. Feels like you're holding a katana. The Overseer. Homegrown organic tech at its finest. This assault rifle is mostly demon skin and bones, but it's shockingly effective. The AR-53. State of the art just a few years ago, the recent explosion of cheat tech makes this assault rifle look like a relic. Still, when your back's against the wall, it gets the job done. TBSM. Tactical Bullet Spewing Machine, or short, TBSM, was designed with total destruction in mind. Modeled after a variation of the best assault rifles, the TBSM has been architectured to withstand continuous full automatic fire, with the capability of reducing recoil and aim drop. However, the technical design of the gun has not been matched by cheap folk art, resembling nothing less but a gun-appropriate tribal tattoo. The Einhander. The lightweight, recoilless, cheap plasma gun your 11-year-old self dreamed about. Plasmoid. Built for the unpredictability of the modern battlefield, this elegant and deadly rifle is the latest in Zilla Zaibatsu military tech. Cheap plasma-filled bullets for versatility, high rate of fire for crowd control. The Eternal Infinitor. Put a sliver of demon bone and a pistol into a chi oven. 3 days later, you get one of these. Spits bursts of pure chi energy. Mutters under its breath. The Amcar Rifle. Amcar assault rifle is based on Colt 727 and .733 carbines, developed by the American Army as an attempt to design a modular system used for specialized roles such as... who reads this anyway? I mean, you're not going to use this knowledge in real life, like, ever. Not like algebra, duh. What you'll need to know is this shit kicks bad, turning an ugly demon face into a lovely pulp of satanic origin. The Stick of Doom. Double-barreled shotgun slowing you down? Saw that mother off. The Hoya. Mom's hamburger recipe. Point this in the general direction of your enemies, pull trigger. You're the best, Mom. The Shogun. Looks archaic, but is cheap as hell and only sometimes explodes in your face. The Boner. The rattle of demon bones you hear when firing this bad boy is a feature, not a bug. The Major Fletcher. 10 minutes after the invention of the cheap plasma shotgun came the invention of the sawed-off cheap plasma shotgun. Perfect. The Hammer Shot. Cheap plasma shells and fully automatic action let you be the merchant of death you always knew you could be. Cerberus. A triple-barreled shotgun grown in a back alley vat from living demon skin and bone. Listen close and you can hear it breathe. The Puncher. This is the next-gen fully automatic combat shotgun of your dreams, assuming you dream about combat shotguns. The Purgator, or Purgator, I don't know how to say that. This shotgun splatters hot chi energy all over your enemy's face. Messy, but satisfying. King Skeletor. Ignore the screams you may hear when firing this demonic machine gun. It gets that way when it's happy. Looks badass though. MG666. This updated M60 is about as conventional as post-collision weapons get. The Raven. This gun is called the BMFG, but his friends call him Clarence. I wonder what that long-ass name stands for. The EXGF-01. Let's just assume for a moment you've seen everything. Figuratively, everything in your life. This gun will make you question your conviction about that, and within seconds, a familiar voice will shout, "Wrong!" in your head. It's a state-of-the-art minigun, produced in the darkest corners of Zilla Lab. With the ability to demolish houses, it is banned in developed countries as a weapon of total destruction. It can spew 50 bullets faster than shouting, "It's not you, it's me." Recommended accessory for demon parties, as well as official demon gatherings. The Agent of Chaos. Homegrown chi enhancement on this handmade minigun make it fire more accurately the longer you hold down the trigger. The Zweihander. Chi-Tech assault rifles come in handy when you want stopping power with a high rate of fire. The Duke. Some say automatic grenade launchers are tacky. Others say, "Oh my god, you blew my legs off with your automatic grenade launcher." The Monsoon. Hail to the king, baby. Wait, scratch that. Hail to the triple-barreled semi-automatic handheld rocket launcher. The Genocider. Why the name? Well, it fires constant stream of chi plasma infused grenades. Also, he's not keen on humans. Fusion. When you don't know how to say it with a plasma grenade launcher. The Last Kiss Goodbye. Old-fashioned but deadly as ever. Equip it with chi power upgrades and send your favorite monster a poison rocket sandwich. Destroyer of Realms. Scientists don't know why living tissue weapons improve chi flow. All they know is it does. And that they were going to invent something called a flesh rocket anyway. Oh, that's gross. Shenlong. This artisanal handmade automatic grenade launcher may look like it was made in Brooklyn, but it comes from right here in Onishima. The One-Trick Pony. The One-Trick Pony has one trick. It's a pretty good trick. Worm's Breath. Don't let the living flesh of this demonic grenade launcher scare you. Like any biomechanical being, it just wants to be loved. Yumi. Invented thousands of years ago, pointy stick launchers remain as effective as ever. Pointy stick launchers. I'm going to call it for that from now on. That's brilliant. Devault. They say the Prince of Peace was a simple carpenter. With access to nail guns, we'd like to think he'd have been the Duke of Destruction. Judgment of Enra. Post-collision life saw an increase in both hunting and being hunted, which led to a rise in amateur gunsmiths and homegrown technology. Nothing says, "Stay down," better than an artisanal taser attached to a bespoke arrow. Where's your house-made Tarragon reduction now? The Stapler. It was only a matter of time before the residents of Onishima developed a full automatic for the nail guns. Bullseye and Barton. Made from steel and carbon, this compound bow puts holes in things so hard. Springchester. Some say the spear gun is nothing more than a streamlined crossbow. They are correct, but it doesn't make them good people. The Perforator. Affordable, portable, and terrifying, this full auto nail gun is state-of-the-art in attaching your enemy to its own front door. The ZI Robin. Why put chi plasma tech into a bow? Why does a dog lick its balls? The Raijin. It's generally held that the Raijin is the pinnacle of Zilla Zaibatsu's conventional weapons tech prior to chi weapons. The war saw. Some artists work with wood, others with flesh. Finally, there's a tool for both of them. The hedgehog. Since ancient times, man has known that you can make anything deadlier by banging a bunch of nails into it. Reassuring to know that even when the world goes to hell, some principles still hold. Medusa Ray. What has 8 heads, fries enemies on sight, and laughs maniacally? Yes, I'm looking at you holding this beast of a gun. As far as I'm concerned, hundreds of demons were harmed in the process of making this weapon. But let's be serious. Who gives a rat's ass about that? I don't really know how this thing works, but damn, son, it's Medusa's freaking head. Just press fire to feel like a real Spartan. The chill factor. It's a sick scientist's wet dream, a deadly snowball tumbler for everyone that has been bullied as a child and grew with the phobia of winter Christianings in snowball fights. Due to the complicated technology inside, the weapon is able to produce, Due to the complicated technology inside, the weapon is able to produce tough as rock ice shards that shatter enemies with deadly force of nature. A little bit of a misspelling in the stuff there. The saw blade. Behold, the Zilla Labs Chi chainsword, all the power of a chainsword, all the finesse of a chitana. The Firefaust. Firefaust? When scientists started integrating chi tech into weapons, the results were unpredictable. Take this wrist-mounted device which creates a heat ray that incinerates anything it touches. It's great for parties. The lumberjack's caress. This is what happens when people get halfway through making a biotic weapon and throw it out. This feral chainsaw was found in the wilderness, living off of the very demons it absorbed into its bodily structure, paging Dr. Murrow. Emperor's touch. As Nikola Tesla said, our virtues and our failings are inseparable. If Tesla's failing was being a homicidal maniac, this wrist-mounted electricity lance would have been his virtue. And finally, the money bundle. Let's be honest here. How many times you wanted to feel like a goddamn wolf of Wall Street and smack a skank with a fresh bundle of Franklins? Well, if you ask me, at least 5 times a day. But I'm taking a bus to work. Nevertheless, now's your chance. Satisfaction guaranteed. Or here's your nickel back. Psych! The dynamite. It just wants to be friends. But what's that ticking sound? Mega Arachnid. A perfect example of the collision's unpredictable effect on the animal kingdom. Keep hands and feet away. The Ratfarine. When you meet a rat the size of a dog, pray you aren't carrying any cheese. The Stinger. This mutated scorpion is the size of a large dog and combines the stabbing and scooping powers of a spoon and fork. Okay. The Claw. Some say this is what happens when shade junkies finally lose all humanity. Others say they're just garden variety lawyers, known to associate with talons. The Fang. When all you have is a mouth, the whole world looks like a meal. The Hellhound. The Yakuza were the first to discover that hellhounds could be domesticated if trained from birth. If you can overlook the fire breathing, they're actually very loving. The Thorntail. Thank goodness fleas are so small you can't see their... Oh God, kill it with fire! The Talon. The same way claws can turn into talons. Sometimes talons split into claws. It's the circle of shite. The Puker. Some artists work in oils, others with clay. Pukers work in puke. And like any true artist, you never know what their next work will contain. A poison bomb? A demon egg? Clean up on aisle U. The Bonehead. These reanimated crawlers prove that no one really dies. They just haven't met the right shaman. A crawler. These feral demons reproduce with abandon in the wilderness. At least someone's having fun out there. The hammerhead. Hammerhead isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, in the box. That's why he carries a sword. Spectre. No one knows who trained these shockingly agile demonic ninjas. All we know is that the person is kind of a dick. Hatamari. Some people say these writhing, fan-tossing terrors are actually mutated cultists. Those people were dead a few seconds later. Acolytes. Years of fan-throwing practice in the temple have honed these attendants into stunning killing machines. Serpentor. Whoever coined the phrase, the more the merrier, never met or heard of these speedy, split-apart bastards in a dark alley. Toro. Carries a big stick, doesn't walk softly. Mist. Talk about a fellow who's all mixed up. He might not be much to look at, but don't take your eyes off him. That's when you find his claw in your back. Treeface. Treeface heals nearby demons, including himself, but nothing can fix the wounds in his heart. Shame. Belly. Bellies summon other creatures with the power of a more cowbell. Tumor. Tommy Tumor is a naughty boy. Tommy Tumor throws poison grenades, and if you blow off his arms and legs, he'll still try to headbutt you to death. Bad boy, Tommy Tumor. Bad, bad boy. The Warlord. What part of the name Warlord is confusing to you? He's a lord of freaking war, okay? You want to be hit in the face by dead things? Stick around for a minute. The Shaman. A committed environmentalist, the shaman's motto is reduce, reuse, reanimate. The Juggernaut. People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Juggernauts live in vast underground lava flows. It's possible they throw a few rocks your way. The Berserker. The Berserker looks scary, but if you stay out of melee range, he's quite a conversationalist. The Bunny Lord. Come at the king. You best not miss. Bunny Lord will take your money, your health, your hope, and your lover. Yakuza Assassin. The Yakuza are simple. They like to drink and they like to kill things. Imagine Gary Busey with a fashion sense. Yakuza Desperado. The Yakuza are simple. They like to drink and they like to kill things. The Yakuza Fencer, the Yakuza Warrior. Then we have the Shade Junkie. After the onset of addiction, Shade causes rapid mutation, increasing strength and decreasing empathy. Don't get between this guy and he's dope. Shade Fanatic. High-dose Shade users develop greater demonic qualities as time goes on, but still manage to make time for Burning Man every year. The Scorpio Droid. One of Zilla's first post-collision inventions. This robot scorpion is mostly known for its plasma stinger. Everyone always forgets about its vacuum attachment. The Floater Drone. Originally developed by Zilla Zaibatsu for same-day grocery delivery, after the collision they were retrofitted for a variety of uses, including protection, healing, and assassination. Zilla Gunslinger. Fear, surprise, ruthless efficiency, and a fanatical dedication to the leader are the 4 weapons of every Zilla Corps soldier, and shooting anything that moves. Zilla Slasher. The Zilla Swordsman. The Zilla Soldier. And the Zilla Chopper. Like a regular trooper except heavy and electrified. The Zilla Shredder. The ultimate war tool. Shredders have the speed and agility of a robot with grenades and sadism of a human. The Doll. Originally designed by Zilla Industries as a pleasure bot, the dirty old leisure lady. Oh, so that's what doll means. Didn't sell when it first hit stores. Realizing his mistake, Orochi Zilla recalled all units and turned them into ruthless killing machines. The Mother Drone. Mommy, where do drones come from? From this giant nightmare drone mother. Now for the last time, go to sleep. The Herculon. These heavily augmented specimens are rumored to have once been humans that signed into the wrong Zilla research program. They are known to post fake pics on Tinder. ZL209. As Orochi-Zilla famously said, if you want to demoralize the enemy, dehumanize yourself. Nothing does that better than an exosuit that packs rockets, machine guns, and a host of other cruelty vectors. Look, Ma, no humanity. Okay, we're gonna skip the diaries and things for now. Let's do the cookies first. Cookie 1. A red face hides an unblemished bottom. Karma's a bitch. Dogma, however, is a wildcat in the sack. Wang's out for Arambe. Running a daycare is like going to prison. Your first day on the yard, walk up to the meanest mother out there and punch her in the mouth. No one messes with you after that. Jeez. Life is a Wang Wei street. Not to point fingers, but only a Sith deals in absolutes, is itself an absolute. Everything in moderation, including everything. In moderation, including everything. In moderation. This fortune is untrue. If at first you don't succeed, try. Try accepting that you're a failure. If something is worth doing, it's worth doing slowly. Mae West. When you come to a fork in the road, take it, preferably to dinner. No man is an island, but some women are isthmuses. I don't know what that last word is. There no eye in kill you so hard in the face. There are two eyes. Once a Wang, always a Wang. Everybody have fun tonight. Everybody Wang Chan tonight. Wait, strike that, reverse it. High conflict individual is fancy speak for dickwad. Opinions are like assholes. If you have more than one, things are going to get messy. Assholes are like opinions. They're full of crap and people find the noises they make funny. Never send a stoat to do a Vol's job. Getting outside your comfort zone is a great way to be really uncomfortable. A Wang is a terrible thing to waste. Show me a virtuous man and I'll show you someone who's trying too hard. I don't understand how insomniacs sleep at night. It's not the man in the fight, it's the fight in the man, and the full auto rocket launch in the man that is carrying. Civilization is just something that sounded like a good idea when God was drunk. TV is like sex. It gets turned on and it seems like something is happening. But everyone ends up disappointed. Then at the end of the month, you get a bill. Religion is the opiate of the masses. Vicodin, on the other hand, is the opiate of the business class. Begging for mercy is futile, but very entertaining. What's the best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you and hear the lamentations of the woman? Coming in close second? Puppies. Raise my hand if you believe in psychokinesis. Confucius says it is impossible to sum up someone's life on a piece of paper. You will find a fortune cookie. Trapped in a video game factory. Do not send help. He who makes a breast of himself... Wait, what? He who makes a breast of himself relieves himself of the pain of being a Wang. What? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. You should be just fine, though. Time flies when you're grabbing nuns. What? Confucius says dressing like a nun is just a matter of getting back in the habit. Pro tip. Many things are trying to kill you. Kill them before they do. Confucius says a great comic book collection is nature's birth control. Never try to teach a Wang to sing. It sounds terrible and annoys the Wang. Hang in there, baby. For every complex problem, there's an answer that is clear, simple, and wrong. H.L. Mencken. Life is a moderately good play with a badly written third act. Truman Capote. Some people never go crazy. What truly horrible lives they must lead. Charles Bukowski. Hey, what's with the cross, you guys? I said, shove thy neighbor. Shove! Jesus. Hey, what's in this stuff anyway? Socrates. I figured it out, you guys. It's to be. Shakespeare. I don't hate people. I just feel better when they're not around. Charles Bukowski. Never mistake motion for action. Ernest Hemingway. Chaos is the score upon which reality is written. Henry Miller. It is sometimes an appropriate response to reality to go insane. Philip K. Dick. The knack of flying is learning how to throw yourself at the ground and miss. Douglas Adams. That actually makes a lot of sense. I have never catered to the bullshit of innocence. Maurice Sendak. Let's think the unthinkable. Let's do the undoable. Let us prepare to grapple with the ineffable itself and see if we may not F it after all. Douglas Adams. Confusion is a word we have invented for an order which is not understood. Henry Miller. I have no money, no resources, no hopes. I am the happiest man alive. Henry Miller. You have to die a few times before you can really live. Charles Bukowski. The problem with the world is that the intelligent people are full of doubts, while the stupid ones are full of confidence. Charles Bukowski. Find what you love and let it kill you. Charles Bukowski. Those who escape hell never talk about it, and nothing much bothers them after that. Charles Bukowski. Some people like what you do, some people hate what you do, but most people simply don't give a damn. Charles Bukowski. We are here to laugh at the odds and live our lives so well that death will tremble to take us. Charles Bukowski. I hate to advocate drugs, alcohol, or insanity, but they've always worked for me. Hunter S. Thompson. For every moment of triumph, for every instance of beauty, many souls must be trampled. Hunter S. Thompson. Life has become immeasurably better since I have been forced to stop taking it seriously. Hunter S. Thompson. Crazy is a term of art. Insane is a term of law. Remember that and you will save yourself a lot of trouble. Hunter S. Thompson. Tune in, freak out, get beaten. Hunter S. Thompson. Let us toast to animal pleasures, to escapism, to rain on the roof and instant coffee, to unemployment insurance and library cards, to absinthe and good-hearted landlords, to music and warm bodies and contraceptives. Hunter S. Thompson. Some may never live, but the crazy never die. Hunter S. Thompson. Very few toads in this world are Prince Charmings in disguise. Hunter S. Thompson. Never turn your back on fear. It should always be in front of you, like a thing that might have to be killed. Hunter S. Thompson. Belief is the death of intelligence. Robert Anton Wilson. Only the madman is absolutely sure. Robert Anton Wilson. You are precisely as big as what you love, and precisely as small as what you allow to annoy you. Robert Anton Wilson. The border between the real and the unreal is not fixed, but just marks the last place where rival gangs of shamans fought each other to a standstill. Robert Anton Wilson. The totally convinced and the totally stupid have too much in common for the resemblance to be accidental. Robert Anton Wilson. Of course I'm crazy, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. Robert Anton Wilson. All gods become devils eventually. Robert Anton Wilson. The Bible tells us to be like God, and then on page after page it describes God as a mass murderer. Robert Anton Wilson. In conclusion, there is no conclusion. Things will go on as they always have, getting weirder all the time. Robert Anton Wilson. Disobedience was man's original virtue. Oscar Wilde. If you listen to seemingly dull people very closely, you'll see that they're all mad in different and interesting ways, and are merely struggling to hide it. Robert Anton Wilson. Most of our ancestors were not perfect ladies and gentlemen. The majority of them weren't even mammals. Robert Anton Wilson. I can resist everything except temptation. Oscar Wilde. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Oscar Wilde. Experience is simply the name we give our mistakes. Oscar Wilde. Be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. Oscar Wilde. Always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. Oscar Wilde. Life is too important to be taken seriously. Oscar Wilde. A little sincerity is a dangerous thing, and a great deal of it is absolutely fatal. Oscar Wilde. When I was young, I thought that money was the most important thing in life. Now that I am old, I know that it is. Oscar Wilde. True friends stab you in the front. Oscar Wilde. Quotation is a serviceable substitute for wit. Oscar Wilde. It is what you read when you don't have to that determines what you will be when you can't help it. Oscar Wilde. To lose one parent may be regarded as a misfortune. To lose both looks like a carelessness. Oscar Wilde. A man who does not think for himself does not think at all. Oscar Wilde. When the gods wish to punish us, they answer our prayers. Oscar Wilde. Luck is believing you are lucky. Tennessee Williams. Gods always behave like the people who make them. Zora Neale Hurston. Hurston. People can be slave ships in shoes. Zora Neale Hurston. Only entropy comes easy. Anton Chekhov. Don't gobble funk around with words. Roald Dahl. If you think this universe is bad, you should see some of the others. Philip K. Dick. A man is an angel that has gone deranged. Philip K. Dick. Reality is what you can get away with. Robert Anton Wilson. The impossible often has a kind of integrity that the merely improbable lacks. Douglas Adams. It has yet to be proven that intelligence has any survival value. Arthur C. Clarke. The belief in a supernatural source of evil is not necessary. Men alone are quite capable of every wickedness. Joseph Conrad. A smile is the chosen vehicle of all ambiguities. Herman Melville. Better to sleep with a sober cannibal than a drunken Christian. Herman Melville. Words, as is well known, are the great foes of reality. Joseph Conrad. Punctuality is the virtue of the board. Evelyn Waugh. Woo. I don't know how to say that last name from her. There's too much tendency to attribute to God the evils that man does of his own free will. Agatha Christie. Happy people are failures because they are on such good terms with themselves they don't give a damn. Agatha Christie. Do not free a camel of the burden of his hump. You may be freeing him from being a camel. Gilbert K. Chesterton. Okay, moving on to the diaries. Namika Yamamoto Diary, Part 1. June 16, 1956. I hesitate to even put this down on paper. What would my mother say if she saw it? And my father? No. It's not even worth thinking about how he'd react. Oh, but I can't keep it in. I met a boy. A man, I should say. I met a man. There. I said it. And I don't care if they disapprove. He's sweet and smart, funny, powerful. It's strange. He's 10 years older than me, and he has this feeling of authority about him. Sitting in the bar with him, it was like he owned the place, like we owned the place. Then I did something I shouldn't have done, and I can't take it back. I had sex. With him. With Jiro. It was my first time, and I know I shouldn't have, but I wanted to. They say love makes you do foolish things. Well, then I suppose that means I'm in love. He gave me a coin with his family's seal, though. Does that mean he feels the same way about me? Imagine, me, married, watching as our children run to greet him at the door. Oh, but now I'm being silly. He told me he'd meet me tomorrow at the same place. I can't even breathe, I'm so excited. I went to the same bar again last night to meet Jiro, but he wasn't there. I guess something important came up. He'll be there tomorrow. I'm sure of it. I've been going to that bar every night for a week now. Now the employees all know me. I don't like the way they look at me. I saw two of them talking and looking at me and laughing. Do they think I'm naive? That Jiro... No. Can't even think that. How could they know? It's obvious now that Jiro never loved me. I guess he just enjoys leading women on and throwing them away. Jerk. I still walk by the place we met sometimes, but I'm too embarrassed to go in. To make things worse, little Miss Strawberry was supposed to be here 3 weeks ago. I'm getting more worried every day about it. I'm too upset to even tell any of my girlfriends. They wouldn't understand anyway. Too busy with their schoolgirl crushes. They'll never understand what it's like to be with a real man. Well, there's no denying my secret now. My belly shouts it for the world to see. My parents danced around it for weeks, dropping hints about me gaining weight. My mother came to me today in tears, saying she knew what had happened, and that I had to tell her what was happening. For the sake of the child, she said. When she said that I knew I couldn't deny it anymore, I told her how it happened, she just froze in this horrible way, like what I said wasn't even real. Then she walked out without saying anything. 20 minutes later, my father came to my room. Though he was stone-faced, I could feel his fury like a hot wind. Without saying anything, he struck me across the face so hard I fell to my knees. I sobbed for a minute on the ground, and when I looked up, he was gone. I haven't been able to write for a long time, diary. Things have been so hard. I've been trying to find a new place to live since my parents made it clear I was unwelcome in the house. As long as I remained an embarrassment, they said. I'm worried I will have to quit school in order to afford my rent. It's funny. For so long I couldn't wait to grow up. Now it's happening so fast I just want to go back to being a kid. My friends all tell me I should go to the country. I know they mean well, but I won't give up this life growing inside me. I think she is destined for great things. I saw Jiro today. I was shopping for clothes for little Shiho when I spotted him. I know I shouldn't have spoken to him, but I couldn't help myself. I just ran up and told him off, that he was a loser and a disgrace. I shouted at him that he knocked me up and abandoned me, and I didn't care who knew that Shiho was his daughter. And get this, he pretended he didn't even know who I was. He was laughing with his thug buddies about how sluts were always telling lies about him to try to get his money. Then he called me a whore and an idiot and said that if I ever bothered him again, he would have me killed. I shouted back that he couldn't do anything to me, that he was worse than what he already did. That made him angry. He pushed me down and Shiho went tumbling out of my arms, wailing as she fell. As I grasped for her, one of his goons snatched her up. He handed her to Jiro, who looked at me with a cold smile. He said, You think this belongs to me? Look. Then he took the cigarette from his lips and touched it to the back of her hand. Then he looked back at me. Then he did it again, and again. 3 perfectly circular burns. She was screaming in agony as he said, "Okay, she belongs to me now. Happy? Now get the fuck away from here. If I ever see you or her again, I'll kill you both myself." The doctors say that she'll heal, but not without scars. Everyone tells me I should forget about it. He's the son of the Oyabun, untouchable. But if I ever get a chance, I won't hesitate. He deserves to die, and I don't care if I have to forfeit my life to do it. No one will give me any work. I don't know if it's because of my reputation or because they're scared of getting on Jiro's bad side. I've been able to make money here and there though, usually at night. Once Shiho is asleep, I go out to try find work. It's hard though, not being able to bring men back to my place. I made that mistake once. The second he saw Shiho, he got angry, so I didn't get paid. And I got a black eye for my trouble. Then I couldn't make money for a week. My mother secretly brings us food once a week when my father is out at his social club. I don't know how long I can go on like this. Shiho says she does not want to go to school anymore because the other children tease her so much. She won't say so, but I know it's because of me. I can't imagine what she's going through. I had such a pleasant conversation with the rabbit again today. He told me I was welcome to join him any time I liked on the moon. He needs an assistant to help him make the mochi for the gods. Poor rabbit. He works much too hard. August 87930. Peony Grapestream word work. Pray and you get this out of off. Pray and you get this out of. Lavender glory float. So beauty. Katsumata Diary, Part 1. September 8th, 1947. Wow, things are finally getting back to normal. I never thought I would see this day. But here it is. The sun is shining, my family has enough to eat, and I even have a job. I started at this tea house 2 weeks ago, and I'm finally starting to get the hang of it. I'm even starting to think about romance. There's an American sailor who comes in after he finishes his patrols. Most of the Americans don't drink tea, but he's different. I've seen him several times now, but we still haven't spoken. Today, we exchanged a friendly nod, though, which was quite exciting. I wonder if he'll come in tomorrow. I know it's silly, but I hope he does. I think I have a little crush. He came in every day this week. He always sits at the same table and orders the same thing. I wish he'd sit in my section. We still haven't spoken, but I've been having thoughts about him. And not very proper ones. Like about whether he might be married. He doesn't wear a ring, so there's a good sign. The other servers have started ribbing me about him. I pretend I don't like it, but secretly, I like to think of the two of us together. Today, Akane hurt her foot in the kitchen and I had to cover her section. Where he sits! He came in at his usual time, and then I had to go and take his order. My heart was beating so hard, I thought it might thump out of my chest and across the floor. He seems kind, sweet, though he only knows a few words of Japanese. I don't care though. Oh, I feel like a little schoolgirl. He didn't come in today. He's been coming every day for weeks now. But not today. Oh well, I'm sure I'll see him tomorrow. Something probably just came up. He wasn't in today either. I hope he's not sick. He still hasn't been back. Maybe the Navy sent him somewhere else. I knew this was too good to be true. Oh well. Well, that's it, I guess. My parents told me who my husband will be today. Naoki Katsumata. I remember him from school years ago. Quiet, not the most exciting option. But then again, neither is marriage. I'm sure it will all work out. We're to be married in July. You'd think the wedding was tomorrow from the way Mother is carrying on. Everything has to be perfect and the whole town has to know. Who's getting married anyway? Me or her? I've been spending more time with Naoki. He's not terrible looking, but he barely talks. He doesn't seem too interested in getting to know his future wife. But I'm sure he'll come around. I know it's terrible, but my mind keeps drifting back to that sailor who used to come into the shop. That's no way to think, Don't think about the life you want. Think about the life you have. My heart is pounding so hard I can hardly think. Today, at the shop I was clearing a table, when in walked Leroy. That's his name. He told me today, and I told him mine. And he asked if he could see me sometime. In Japanese. He sounded like a 6-year-old, but he was trying. It was embarrassing, though. Everyone else in the shop knows I'm engaged. It felt awful to do, but I told him it wouldn't be appropriate and made sure everyone heard me. He looked so sad I couldn't believe it, but he smiled at me every time I came to his table. So I did something crazy. I don't even know why. When I brought him his bill, I also gave him a note telling him to meet me here near my house at midnight tonight. My father would be appalled, but he'll be asleep. Oh my goodness, am I really doing this? We kissed, and I told him I'd meet him again tonight. What have I done? Goodness, I've been too busy to write. What with working all day, cooking dinner for stupid Naoki, then meeting Leroy at night. I am exhausted, but I've never been happier in my life. I know it's crazy, and I know it can't last, but I'm glad I get to feel what love is. Even if just for a few days or weeks. When I told Leroy the situation with Naoki, he got mad, said it wasn't fair. He's right, of course, but there's nothing we can do. In 5 weeks, I'll be married, and that will be the end of our little meetings. Well, I think that might be the saddest thing I've ever written. My brothers were waiting up for me when I came home tonight. They said they knew where I'd been. I told them to mind their own business, and I didn't care what they thought. They didn't like that. I told them I didn't care and went to bed. They're so controlling. Can't stand it. Oh no. Oh dear. Oh dear me. What do I do? When I met Leroy last night, he was smiling like he had a secret. When I asked him what he was so happy about, he said, us. At first I thought he was being cruel, praising this meager existence we have, rubbing it in my face that we could never be together. I turned away, but he pulled me back. Said I had the wrong idea, that he was going to buy me a ticket to the United States, and that once we were there, I could stay because I'd be his wife. His wife! I couldn't stand it. I told him he was teasing, but he said no, that he'd never been more serious about anything before in his life. I asked him how he could afford to bring me there, and he said he had his father's watch. It's worth a lot of money, I guess. His dad gave it to him when he came over. Leroy says he knows his father would understand if he sold it. I don't know. This is all so new. It's exciting, but I'm afraid. Leroy says no one in the shops will talk to him, and everyone shuns him when he walks down the street. I know why. My stupid brothers have poisoned everyone against him. What do they think they're doing? Could they be more blatant? Don't they realize that Naoki is going to figure it out? Never mind them, though. We'll be gone soon, and they can keep their miserable small existence here. I'm going to Cleveland. Cleveland. Oh, I love the way that sounds. Like a bell chiming hope and dreams into being. I told Leroy he can sell his watch to the Yakuza. They don't care who they do business with. Hopefully he can get it done this afternoon, and we can be on our way. I've had my bag packed for 2 days. I went to our usual spot tonight, but Leroy was nowhere to be found. I hope everything is okay. If he needed to take care of something, I understand. He's doing so much for me. For us. I'll see him tomorrow, I'm sure. I can't believe it. He's gone. Just like that. Killed like a dog by those Yakuza thugs. I heard there was some kind of scuffle and he punched Jiro. Oh, Leroy, how could you be so stupid? Everyone knows Jiro is impulsive and jealous. Oh, my love, how do I live without you? How do I go on? Everyone looks at me like I'm some kind of freak or something. They all know. Or they all think they know. Except somehow Naoki. He doesn't seem bothered by anything though, least of all me. When we're together, it's like I'm not even in the room. Oh, this is torture. I'm dying inside, but I can't tell anyone. I'm supposed to be on this SS President Cleveland right now. 2 days out at sea. Can you believe that? Our ship would have had the same name as our town. But it doesn't sound like a bell to me anymore. It sounds like a sob. Well, this is it. Naoki and I are to be married tomorrow. I always thought the day of my wedding would be a happy occasion. Instead, I'm mourning the death of my lover and marrying someone who doesn't even care that I'm alive. Maybe he'll grow to love me. Perhaps I'll grow to love him. And maybe pigs will walk on their back legs and start speaking Mongolian. Well, that was perfectly dreadful. All of my family and all of his family lining up to stare daggers at me as we took our vows. Meanwhile, Naoki is on another planet. As soon as we had the rings on our fingers, he was over with his friends, drinking whiskey and making dirty jokes. Some wedding. Then that night he was too drunk to consummate our union. I guess I should count that as a blessing, though. Naoki and I finally had sex. It was underwhelming, to say the least. 5 minutes of him pounding away on top of me. Then he collapses and falls asleep. Wonderful. Welcome to the next 50 years. I have wonderful news. Well, I have news anyway. I'm pregnant. People have been remarking about me gaining weight, but now it's undeniable. Naoki couldn't care less that he's going to be a father, of course. Then again, I don't think he cares about anything except whiskey. He doesn't even drink with his friends anymore. Just sits at home putting back glass after glass of the stuff. Hopefully he'll come around once the baby is born. Oh, I can't wait to see my little baby. I'll finally have a friendly face around the house. Oh, I'm as big as a truck. I don't know how much longer I can keep this baby in me. I'm not looking forward to the birth, but I'm definitely looking forward to not carrying this baby anymore. I don't know what to say. The baby came 4 days ago and I just got home with him. He's so beautiful. Sometimes it's hard to look at him, but not everyone shares my appreciations. It was a bit of a shock even to me, I'll admit. It's obviously not Naoki's baby. It's Leroy's. The evidence is plain as day. This is not a pure Japanese baby. Naoki took one look at him in the hospital and went home without saying a word. When I got here, he was in his usual spot, inside a bottle of whiskey. I don't even think he's moved since he got there 3 days ago. Oh well, it's going to be up to me to raise this little guy, with or without Naoki.
Mamushi Heika Diary, Part 1. I can't believe this arsehole. He thinks I'm just going to suddenly play the adoring daughter? Sure. Hey, I got an idea. Try showing up for the first 20 years of your kid's life. Shithead. He needs this so bad it's disgusting. So naked. So vulnerable. I have to try to push all that down though. Dearest daddy face won't be any good to me if he figures out I hate his guts. This good daughter bullshit is getting harder and harder to maintain. All of his men just suck up to him. He hasn't had a good idea in decades. But you wouldn't know it to hear them. I have spending money now, which is nice. But every time I try to get closer to the business side, he just laughs. I'm more interested in his work than new shoes or some stupid jewelry. But all he seems to think I'm good for is his Barbie doll clothes horse. I finally laid it out for DD. Told him what I thought of his organization, where he was weak, which of his men were likely to betray him. He was shocked, but he told me I was right, and that he would put my advice into action. I was actually excited for a minute there, until he told me to keep our conversations a secret. Oh well, at least he knows what I can do. I talked to DD about his succession plans. I can't believe it. He wants to retire, and he wants me to help find his replacement. When he told me that, he winked. I think he might actually want to put me in charge. Okay, time to start really laying on the charm. You want a good daughter? Yes, Daddy. No, Daddy. 3 bags full, Daddy. Does Daddy need some more love? Okay, I have seen some fucked up bullshit in time, but this takes top prize. Didi never planned on passing power to me. When I told him the search was going well, he asked who I had in mind. When I said me, he laughed like I had told him a really funny joke. When I told him I was serious, he stopped laughing and looked at me like I was crazy. A woman running the Yakuza would never command the proper respect, he says. Well, that's where he's wrong. Time to start really show him what I can do. These Yakuza idiots are all in it for the flash, the status. They don't know the first thing about running a profitable business. Now he'll see, though. I've overhauled every single one of Didi's business units, from prostitution to drugs to gambling, turning them into massive cash waterfalls. When I'm done with this organization, he's going to have no choice but to put me in charge. Stupid bastard. You stupid, stupid bastard. You stupid, fucking stupid bastard. Okay, let's do this. I am death incarnate. I am the Viper Queen. I am at peace. No one can stop me. Least not poor dead dearest daddy face and his poor dead daddy face men. Peasants. Fuck with Mamushi Heika. You get bit. Hero is pathetic, but he'll do. I need him to keep the police and press and other gangs off my scent, which, for the record, is poison and fear. Oh, I so look forward to our blessed nuptials. Did you ever see a happier couple? Oh, Kazuko, you are so beautiful, so tiny, so perfect. Oh, I want to eat you up. Sorry about your pathetic shell of a father. He's useful, though, for now. I had such a lovely talk with Hiro this afternoon. The best since this afternoon we spent watching my father and all his men die. He couldn't speak, of course. That probably had something to do with it going so well. The look of surprise in his eyes was familiar. That same mixture of outrage, betrayal, understanding and relief I saw in my father's. Men are idiots. It's just you and me now, Kazuko. Pretending to grieve is exhausting. And Kazuko is so much work these days. Children keep you young, they say. Not sure how much time I'll have for her, now that I'm officially running the show, though. Funny how fast people fall in line when they realize what you're capable of. I'm not a big fan of being this exposed, though. I prefer operating from the shadows. Oh well, time to step it up. The past few months have been so disorientating. I don't even know where to start. First, all these fucking demons come out of nowhere, then suddenly everything is heaving around and bursting apart. Half my men died just from collapsing buildings or getting sucked into crevices as they opened up. Oh well, at least I can say I was here for the end of the world. A lot of punks trying to take a run at Mamushi Heika. Scrubs. If I had a zillion for every bastard whose blood I've wiped off my sword, I'd be... oh well, I'd be even more rich than I already am. Turns out people want the same things in the post-apocalypse as they did in the pre-apocalypse. And I know how to get it for them. Just need to make sure Kazuko doesn't get wrapped up in this stuff. She's not like me. More like Hiro. All heart, no brain. Oh, still, life in Onishima isn't easy for anyone. Least of all, a 20-year-old girl. Had a most interesting visitor today. Says he can help. Certainly was powerful enough to, from what he showed me. Took a strange interest in Kazuko. Not sure I love that. Going to have to think it over before with this one. He who sups with the devil should have a long spoon, they say. Guess I'm going to need new silverware. Well, it's pretty clear how this is going to go. I need Mezu, and he needs me. Or rather, he needs Kazuko. Not sure how much choice I have here. I can accept his help and rule the roost, or reject him and be obliterated. I'm sorry, Kazuko. I am so sorry. It all made sense this morning. I can't believe I was so naive, believing Mezu's half-truths. Did I ever lie to you? He asks. No, you evil bastard. Stupid, stupid, stupid. He led me down the garden path. And now she's dead, and they found that fucking brat on the floor. Healthy as a horse. Finger painting with my daughter's guts. Can't believe she's gone. And I'm a grandmother. Who's going to take care of this stupid thing? I swear, if that demon bastard were immortal, I'd kill him. There is no one to blame but myself. Kazuko's blood is in my hands alone. I knew what I was doing when I struck the deal with my master. Now, I must pay the consequences. Even if it means playing wet nurse to a bastard offspring. Who even knows what Kamiko is? Or what she's capable of? Shit, she's only 2 days old and already walking. But that's enough self-pity. Time to do what I've always done. Survive. Kamiko's anger and obstinacy continued unabated. She insists on going to work for Zilla Labs. Over my dead body? We don't mess with Zilla, and he doesn't mess with us. Then she offers to spy on him for me. Says she can get the keys to the kingdom. Like she doesn't know I'm going to bite on that. I'm probably being stupid, but this is too good to pass up. Anyway, Mezu is obsessed with Zilla. I want to see the look on his face when I present him with everything that goddamn megalomaniac has been working on. Shiho Yamamoto Diary, Part 1. My mom is out to lunch. She still thinks I go to school every day. I don't have the heart to tell her what's really going on. I don't think there's much chance of her finding out, though. That idiot can barely keep a thought in her head these days. She certainly doesn't seem to notice when I add money to a grocery kitty. I think she actually believes she made it, and she still complains about being poor. Better to let her have her pride, though, than to deal with the alternative. My work situation is getting more complicated. Tunio and Ueda want a bigger cut. They're already getting 30%. Assholes. They never would have thought up this scam without me. It's not my fault men can't control themselves. Paying me is a small price for their wives' peace of mind. Anyway, if Tunio thinks I can't find new muscle to get people to pay up, he's got another thing coming. And shit, if it came down to it, I could kill Ueda with one hand behind my back. I hate to admit it, but Mother isn't getting better. I try not to let it get to me, but I don't want it to be true. But I have to admit, she's completely out of it. And with her nose like that, the writings on the wall, why do I have to deal with this stupid shit? Everyone else gets to have their perfect life while I operate on the edges. Fuck that. No time to think about it now. Gotta go make my rounds. These assholes may not respect me, but they fear me. And right now, that's a lot more useful. I'm going to need to do something about Mother. This morning I found her staring out the window, having a conversation with no one. I couldn't help myself. I cried. I haven't done that in a while. When Mother saw my tears, she asked why I was sad. I said I wasn't. I was overwhelmed by happiness because I got to spend so much time with her. She told me that the rabbit told her the exact same thing this morning. What the fuck? Well, now I know who my dad is. Could never get it out of Mother, but now that she's a space cadet, I've been going through her stuff. Found a ton of newspaper clippings about this one man, Jiro Yamaguchi. I think it's gotta be him. Grew up in the Yakuza, son of Oyabun, and it looks like he took over when his father died a few years back. If you think not having a father is bad, try finding out you have one, and he runs the organized crime in your city. Okay, this fucker is going down. I just read all of my mother's diary about how she refused to get rid of me, even when her parents threatened to disown her. How he shamed her in the street and burned my hand. All my life I wanted to know where these scars came from. Now all I want to do is forget. That fucker is going to pay. Okay, I did something a little rash. A lot rash, actually. I should probably be dead right now, but somehow it might have turned things around. I was going to kill the bastard, and had a perfect plan. I've been following this Jiro Yamaguchi, or Dearest Daddy Face, as I've taken to calling him under my breath, and I figured out a couple places he seems to like to drink. I got out some of Mother's old Baishunfu clothes, tarred myself up, and went to wait for him at the bar. Getting him to notice me was too easy. Creep. Old fool would have had sex with Porcupine if it was willing. Once I got him in the back with his pants halfway off, I pulled my knife and asked him if he knew where I was. Old fucker looked like he was about to piss himself. When I showed him the scars, I thought he was going to have a heart attack. Then I threw the coin he'd given my mother so many years ago at him. Shithead breaks down in tears, saying the gods brought us together. He's been trying to produce an heir ever since I was born. He thinks Mother cursed him. Then, how do you like this? He begs me to come live with him. And you know what's even more screwed up? I'm actually considering it. Sending Mother to a final rest was difficult, but it was the right thing to do. I feel lighter, actually, like I could do anything. Besides, she was happy at the end, happy with her daughter. I'm glad we could share that moment, and even happier that she's finally gone. I moved in with Dearest Daddy tomorrow, and I'm not even going to pack a bag. I need nothing, take nothing. No quarter given or taken. Besides, he's got 20 years of parenting to make up for. Time to burn this motherfucker to the ground. Hideo Diary. I'm so happy I found the anvil. Ever since my parents were killed, I've been living in one of the makeshift dormitories in the Yakuza setup. I'm grateful to them for the food and shelter they gave me, but could no longer live with their constant anger and hatefulness. All they know is aggression and revenge. In the anvil, however, we are trained for combat, but taught that no man or demon is an enemy until they attack you. It doesn't matter if a demon killed your parents. Some human probably killed that demon's parents, and some demon killed that human's best friend, and on and on. An eye for an eye makes the whole world go blind, as Smith likes to say. We believe in a new way. It has been fascinating to watch Kamiko's training increase. Her chi talents are truly incredible. Smith does not send her out on missions, though. She seems frustrated by this. She thinks Smith doesn't trust her, but I know the truth. She is too powerful to be used in such a way. The risk of attracting attention is too great. Kamiko's influence on the dojo continues to surprise. She has been bringing in many more young girls to train with us. At first the other boys resisted their presence, but now it seems as normal as a sunrise. We now count several of them among our fiercest warriors. The End Times News, Part 1. Pandemonium strikes. As the tense city waits for answers, tempers are flaring, violence colors the very air. Just as things started to settle down after the strange events of last week, chaos coursed through the world as strange structures thrust themselves up from the ground in cities, towns, and wilderness alike. "I've never seen anything like it," said one panicked bystander. "There are demons everywhere, and so many people are dead." Humans hid in their homes for survival, and reports of human-on-human violence over food and water have surfaced. Meanwhile, gangs of demons rampage across the land, killing at will. Remember, if you find other humans, stick together. Only together can we defeat the demon scourge. Disclosure: Zilla City News is wholly owned and operated by Zilla Zaibutsu. Benevolent businessman turns hero. Everyone was caught flat-footed by the events of the past 2 weeks. The so-called collision. Well, almost everyone. One area businessman was ready when demons came streaming into our streets. Instead of cowering in fear, Orochi Zilla of Zilla Industries unleashed wave after wave of private troops against the demon hordes, slaughtering thousands and giving residents of the area something they haven't felt in a long time: hope. He's a saint, said one woman. I don't care what anyone says. He's using his money for good. Reached for comment today, Zilla said he was only doing what any upstanding citizen would do in his position. I'm not concerned with how much money I have. I'm concerned with the state of the citizens. They all have bank accounts too, after all, and they can't spend them if they did. Disclosure, Zella City News is wholly owned and operated by Zella Zaibutsu. Historic Alliance, humanity's lost hope. As the situation on the ground turns from bad to worse, leaders in business and organized crime are finding themselves unlikely bedfellows. It was announced today that the Yakuza will officially ally themselves with civic and business forces in the fight against the demon horde. I'm glad they came to their senses, said Orochi Zilla, a prominent businessman and owner of Zilla Industries. If we don't stand together, we will perish alone. Though we operate at the margins of society, we want everyone to know whose side we're on, said Mamushi Heika, daughter of a former Yakuza Oyabun, and the woman many in the underworld look up to as a leader. The demon horde must be stopped, and we are committed to helping that effort, even if it means working with the people we find distasteful. Allies score key victory. Today, our brave fighters received a much-needed break in the relentless war of attrition against the demon forces. After months of stalemate, today our militia pushed deep into the demon territory to strike at key supply centers. We need more days like this, said Mamushi Heika, a high-ranking member of the Yakuza. We had some casualties, and some of our top strategists continue to lead from the boardroom instead of the battlefield. Still, our progress today is undeniable. Small town razed by demonic forces, almost all residents killed. Terrible tragedy befell the town of Bushugi as demons, likely retaliating for the last week's offensive push by the humans, flooded into the town of Bushugi, killing every living thing they saw. It was terrible, said one of the few eyewitnesses to escape. Women, children, pets, they don't care. They're like locusts, a black cloud devouring the landscape. For now, at least it seemed the demons have possession of a key forward strategic point, and do not seem about to give up. They dug in for sure now, said one soldier in Human Liberation Army, the ad hoc militia that has been fending off the demons. You want to clear that place out? You're going to have to do it with a tactical nuke. Demons massing in wilderness. Freedom fighters respond. Intelligence reports show that demons are massing their forces in the wilderness, presumably for a large-scale attack against the forces of humanity. If they think they can take us unaware, they've got another thing coming, said one citizen as he constructed a makeshift bomb out of a piece of piping. This spirit seems to have spread throughout the populace. Every able-bodied person, many bearing the scars of previous clashes, rallied to designated muster points this morning to align on a strategy for repelling the presumptive demonic attack. If we play our cards right, this could be it, said one Human Liberation Army soldier. They're a primitive bunch. All they know is force. If we can get them to overstep their bounds, we could end it all today and send that demon scum back to hell. HLA officials were more circumspect. We don't know precisely what they have planned, said one general on condition of anonymity. But whatever it is, you can be sure we'll be ready. Demon Goddess halts battle in freak display. The Battle of Bushugi, which had been shaping up as decisive conflicts in the human-demon war, was interrupted today as a being some call a goddess walked through the bloody chaos unscathed. Her demonstration seems bafflingly to have soothed both sides into peace. Details are sketchy, but the entity in question is apparently named Amiona, a figure of worship among the demon conjugants. Her appearance seems to have had a strange effect on the humans who saw her as well. I was fighting with this demon, real mean fella, about 9 feet tall, and it's not going well for me, said one soldier of his experience today. He knocks me down and lifts that big sword over his head, and I'm thinking I'm dead. Then she shows up, and he got this real placid look on his face and dropped his weapon, and gets down on the ground like he's worshipping her. I could have offed the bastard real easy. Somehow, though, I didn't want to. Not after seeing her. It appears as though Amiona's presence was powerful enough to avert one of the most important battles of the war. Some are saying the war itself could be over. Incredible though that might sound, at this point it is difficult to imagine what peace would even look like. Stopping the fighting would be wonderful, said one citizen. But then we're going to have a whole bunch of demons hanging around the place, eating our food, drinking our water. Do you want to share a bathroom with a demon? Crow Morona Kleshin Kano, said a demon who had witnessed the same events. In a poignant display of reciprocity, let those words be an example to us all. Gro Morogana Glishinaga indeed. Okay. Shifting sands. After months of speculation, a team of cartographers and scientists have confirmed what most in Onishima have known intuitively. The world as we know it is mutable and can reconfigure itself at will. This change appears to have occurred around the time of the collision. We have no idea what the mechanism is that causes it, but the proof of its existence is incontrovertible, said Ichiro Mifune. Before the collision, he worked as a surveyor. It's as though some kind of force is reshaping the world at a molecular level. Mifune went on to identify one of the most confounding aspects of the phenomenon. When you're looking directly at it, it appears stable, he explains. But you take your eyes off a wall or a stream for 1 second, and when you look back, there's a chance that when you look back, it will be a field or a bridge. Going further, the group's research indicates that these effects become more pronounced farther into the wilderness. There seems to be a proportional relationship between proximity to the wilderness and instability in the environment, Mifune said, noting that the Zilla city landscape tends to remain relatively stable. It's doubtful, however, that scientists will get to the bottom of this mystery anytime soon, however. To truly run this phenomena down, we'd need to travel deep into the wilderness, said Mifune, and that's just plain crazy. Genius philanthropist funds citywide revival. Today, Zilla City looks very different than it did just a year ago, mainly thanks to the efforts of a single man, billionaire philanthropist Orochi Zilla. A powerful industrialist, before the collision, Zilla sprang into action during the demon invasion, repelling as many of the invading forces as he could, before bowing to the truce. Once peace had been achieved, he went to work rebuilding the city. Some would say rebuilding society itself. I've never met him, but I feel closer to him than I do my own father, said one grateful Zilla City resident. I owe him my life. Indeed, Zilla's relentless drumbeat of technological innovation combined with his near-infinite generosity has made him more than a few friends around town. On a recent visit to a building site, he was mobbed by grateful fans eager for autographs. Reached for comment, a spokesperson said, Mr. Zilla is committed to not just restoring Zilla City to its former glory, but to surpassing its predecessor in every way. Strong words, but if past performance is any indication, Orochi Zilla is the man for the job. Zilla elected in landslide. As expected, Orochi Zilla cruised to victory today behind promises to rebuild Zilla City and to restore law and order to the streets. We can't let petty thugs and criminals dictate how we live our lives, Zilla said in his acceptance speech today, making a veiled reference to the Yakuza. We've suffered too long at the hands of those dissolute individuals. It's time for a firm hand. Anyone who wants to play by the rules can make their way here in Zilla City. But if you don't do it in my way, get ready to hit the highway. Zilla's speech was greeted by unanimous approval, with many in the crowd moved to tears. When it was time for all-out war, we needed these people, said one man. But now they just cause trouble. If they want to play by the rules, fine. If not, they need to get the hell out. No yaks allowed. City rallies behind strong leadership. The public reacted strongly in support of the policies of Orochizilla, new mayor of Zilla City today, filling the streets with demonstrations against the Yakuza. Though he cursed the Yakuza as allies during the Human-Demon War, Zilla says he refuses to tolerate the flouting of the rule of law any longer. The Yakuza's reign of terror is at an end, Zilla said at a press conference today. We will root out their operations and rid the city of their scourge. The Yakuza, however, seem unfazed. He thinks he can tell us what to do, said one Yakuza enforcer, who asked to remain nameless. We've been here for hundreds of years, and we'll be here for hundreds more. I'd like to see him come at us. Benevolent leader unveils novel solution to civic woes. Orochizilla took decisive action today in his war on the Yakuza, demolishing the entire Numeronigai district, where most Yakuza live. The demolition took place with little notice and maximum efficiency. Trucks equipped with loudspeakers roamed the streets early this morning, announcing that residents had 2 hours to evacuate their homes, or risk being roadkill on the highway of progress. Today at a press conference, Zilla unveiled his plan to revitalize the area. In place of the seething hive of iniquity, we will build a glittering testament to our bright future, he said, unveiling a scale model of his conception for the district. The combination of technology and chi are bringing us new miracles every day, he went on. This combination, housing center, factory, recreation facility contains all of a citizen's personal needs. Residents will never need to go outside again, he added with a wink. Unless they want to, of course. I understand you've got questions, said Zilla in response to a ridiculous and frankly rude question from one reporter about a lack of emergency exits and or windows. Please accompany the security guard to one of our re-education rooms, where we can explain everything in excruciating detail. Now, who wants pie? In conclusion, the Yakuza are vermin who must be exterminated. Also, pie is delicious. Chi-engine breakthrough to revolutionize modern life. Fresh off his victory over the Yakuza, Orochizilla further solidified his position as the most transformational leader in history as he unveiled a new technology initiative that will revolutionize energy use. When the collision first happened, many people saw it as a negative, Zilla said. But nothing is one-sided. And the greater the negative, the greater the positive. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Chi Engine. With that, a curtain behind Zilla fell to reveal a wide array of devices, from tiny electronics all the way up to train cars. The black sludge you see in the forest represents a new and near limitless form of energy that will transform our society, said Zilla. In the coming days and months you will see the full impact of what we have created here. Concluding, Zilla wrapped up his speech by saying, I have just 2 words for you. You're welcome. The hero of Zilla City then left the stage to the thunderous applause. How does he do it? Enthused one member of the crowd when the cheering had died down. Statesman, scientist, philosopher, physicist. What's next? Saint? Indeed. What's next seems to be the question on many people's minds today. With all the individual gifts Zilla has bestowed upon the people over such short period of time, he's given people the one thing they have lacked since the collision. Hope. Birth of a calamity. The civic leaders of the community that has grown up in the ruins of Bushugi have made an official pronouncement today. Their first. They are changing their town's name to Calamity. We wanted a name that expressed what life was like for us here on the borders, one resident commented. Let's just say there's a reason we didn't call it Paradise. And hey, Calling it calamity makes it sound like you're in a western. When the world's ending, you may as well have a little fun with it. Composed of a motley group of outcasts, both human and demon, Calamity does resemble an old west frontier town in many respects. A fierce independent streak runs through the people here, who have learned to survive on their own without assistance from Zilla or anyone else. The only thing missing is a sheriff, but with the bulldozing of the Numeri district in Zilla City, it has gotten one. The only law around here now is the Yakuza, said one resident. They showed up and started walking around like they owned the place. Pretty soon, they did. Ironic though it might be, it's hard to see the Yakuza's influence here as anything but positive. A year ago, Calamity was the most dangerous place in Onishima, outside of the wilderness. Today, children play in the streets, and residents no longer need to look over their shoulder when going out. That doesn't mean everything is perfect, though. They brought some pretty dark stuff with them, said one shopkeeper, who counts Yakuza as regular customers. My advice is, don't go looking too hard for trouble. You might find it. From gangster to farmer, Yakuza adjust to frontier life. Before the collision, most Yakuza lived a life of privilege, respected by their peers and feared by their enemies. Today, however, after being ejected from the city they called home, their world looks very different indeed. Rather than collecting on loan shark debts, dealing drugs or running prostitution rings, many Yakuza now work the fields every day, starting early and working into the evening. We've always made an honest living, said one low-ranking Yakuza. We provide society with what it needs to survive. Right now what it needs is food, so that's what we're going to give it. Not all Yakuza have reverted to the old ways, however. The Yakuza control everything that's brought or sold here, said one shopkeeper. If they're not directly selling the merchandise, they're getting protection money from whoever is. Except Larry. No one messes with the Larry. Larry is a local demon who runs one of Calamity's mainstay shops. It appears he has managed to resist Yakuza's pressure this far. But regardless of the rough spots, it's hard to deny the shift of the bulk of the Yakuza workforce is undergoing. Indeed, many we spoke with sounded happy with the change. When you're in the life, you never know what the day will bring, said one as he took a break from tending a field of beans. It was dangerous. There was always that chance that you weren't going to make it home. Now, though, I know exactly what time I'm going to do all day. That suits me just fine. Local mothers to Amiona give our children back. A group of concerned mothers met in Zilla City to lodge a formal complaint against Amiona, the demon goddess who brought peace to Onishima during the Human-Demon War. Though many people between the ages of 15 and 25 have gone missing in recent months, it's unclear what has happened to them. Many believe Amiona is behind the disappearances, but little hard evidence has emerged thus far. While tales of a wanton cult or commune in the wilderness abound to date, there has been no confirmation of its existence beyond rumor and speculation. "We know she's got them," shouted one woman, who said her 15 and 20-year-old sons had both run away to the wilderness to live with the controversial spiritual leader. A spokesperson for Zilla Industries said that Orochi Zilla was unable to attend the protest or meet with the protesters because Mr. Zilla has never met Amiona, nor does he have any desire to, and he is not responsible for poor parenting decisions on the part of any individual in Zilla City. He means we're on our own, shouted one woman, before being escorted to a special relaxation and recovery room Zilla Industries has set up for citizens who become overwrought. How to get ahead in show business. The ratings are in, and there is no doubt what they mean. Zilla News Network, ZNN, is a massive success. I'm incredibly proud of the hard work and dedication the entire team put into this, said Orochi Zilla, of his fledgling media empire. People who say we got this phenomenal ratings because we're the only TV station in Onishima are missing the point. We're not just the only TV station in Onishima. We're the best. Critics also credit some of the channel's success to Zilla's shrewd choice for ZNN's On air anchor, an immortal demon lord named Zing, or Uncle Zing as children have taken to calling him. An atypical choice for anchor, Zing suffers from a disability. An immortal, trans-dimensional demon lord, he was involved in an accident several years ago that left nothing of him but his head. I like to think of myself as charmingly compact, said Zing, showing off his trademark humor. Zilla maintains that Zing is uniquely credible as a newsreader. Face it, when you're an immortal who's been alive for millennia, you have no read-on to lie because you have literally seen it all. I mean, this is a guy who could tell you what it feels like to have your head chopped off. I'd like to see a human anchor try that, Zilla continued. No, seriously, I'd really like to see one of them try. On air. Call me. Harmless hippies, or zombie sex cult, inside Amiona's cozy club. The confirmation of the existence of Amiona's so-called cozy club sent shockwaves through Onishima this week, with some up in arms and others pulling up stakes. It's immoral, said one parent whose 20-year-old son has been missing for the past several weeks. I know they're up there, doing their dirty cult business and bending his mind all around. I just wish that slut weren't immortal so I could kill her. News of the club's existence emerged this week when scandalous photos surfaced of its activities, which looked to include meditation, prayer, singing, and massive, no-holds-barred orgies featuring both human and demon participants. I think it's hot, said one young man when asked his opinion of the photos. I mean, how do you not go and experience something like that, the world being what it is right now? As the people's outrage over the club continues to grow, so do increased demands for Zilla to intervene militarily. A move he has so far resisted. A spokesperson for Zilla Industries addressed the flap saying, Mr. Zilla has zero interest in kicking the hornet's nest here, and Miona is responsible for our peaceful existence today. Until Mr. Zilla sees incontrovertible proof of wrongdoing, he has no plans to get involved. The Masamune Satoru Diary, April 2nd, 1949. I do not know how to feel. I have been given the most incredible gift today, but I have had something just as precious taken from me. Ai is dead. It still feels strange to say it, but I will get used to that in time. What I may never get used to is this boy, less than a week old and placed in my sole care. Naoki's family made it abundantly clear that we were not interested in raising him. Their tone told me that they blame him for their son's death. I should not be surprised when small minds are only capable of small thoughts. In any case, only pray they remain small-minded. I never wish to see them again. We have settled into a routine, this tiny man and I. I found a young mother willing to nurse him in private for a fee, and he looks robust and well-fed. He's holding his head up well. I worry, however, about the attitudes of the rest of the town. Any time I bring him out into public, I am shunned. It's ridiculous. I've been a member of this community my entire life and recently lost a daughter. Even his own uncles, my sons, have stopped coming to see me. They think he is an ill omen and don't want to catch his bad luck. It's their loss, of course. He is remarkable. Still, I am making plans to move out into the forest once he can walk. Life will be too unpleasant for him here. I decided to wait until winter had passed to move out into the forest. I've become used to the people's attitudes and rely more and more on Smith for company. That's what I've started calling him, in honor of his father. Funny that I should honor a member of the American military, but from what I can tell, he was an honorable man. I have selected a place for our house, however, and over the next few weeks will build our new home, along with a forge, naturally. I'll have to have something to sell to support us. I don't know why I didn't move to the woods sooner. It is so peaceful out here. I can work in peace and have all day to converse with my son. Grandson, I meant. Silly old fool. Today, I was doing my morning kata when I turned to see Smith behind me, imitating my movements. I gave him a brief lesson in the movements and he took it very seriously. He's always been a thoughtful child. These lessons will be good for him. Today, I allowed Smith to handle a blade for the first time. I showed him how to wear it on his hip, how to draw it properly, and how to safely put it away. When I turned my back to pick up my own blade, I heard a whistling noise. I wheeled to see him, expression calm and serious, standing over a viper that had been cut in half. It seems as though the thing was making for my ankle. That makes 2 times he saved my life. Today was Smith's first lesson on the forge. He's been stoking the fire for me since he was a little boy, but this morning he awoke to find all the tools laid out on his bedroom floor. He's a man now. He deserves a man's trade. I have never seen so devoted a student, either of Kung Fu or sword making, than Smith. First thing in the morning he trains, rain, shine, or knee deep in the snow. Then he gathers firewood and builds up a raging inferno in the forge. Then he cooks me a meal and we talk. After that, he hammers steel long into the night. Well, the papers finally found me, and naturally they did their part to illegalize the Masumanes and make me sound like some mystic hermit. Let them believe what they want. My arthritis hasn't let me make a sword in 3 years. Smith, on the other hand, has become quite adept at the forge. What they see as genius is merely a shadow of the greatness he will one day attain. I am honored to have him as my student. Lab Notes, March 19, Year 2, AC, Orochizilla. We have finally finished construction of our new laboratories, which means we can finally get started analyzing the sludge that has been appearing in the wilderness. The hicks that live out on the edges have taken to calling it crude. I'd say the word describes them more than it. This substance shows a certain dynamism they will never possess. I've been itching to get enough time for exploring the subject. Let progress finally resume. Several weeks into our experiments, I have yet to crack the secret of the sludge, but I have succeeded in making it dance to my tune a little. I don't want to upset my staff, so I can only do the interesting work once they have gone home for the day. But the stuff seems to react in very intriguing ways when I manipulate it with chi energy. I'm wondering if it is related to the so-called black tears I got from Enra, the substance that activated my new talents. Only being able to work at night is slowing down my progress, but I've had the staff set up a full bedroom suite for me so I can achieve maximum productivity. Sometimes I wonder if I'm experimenting on the sludge, or if it's experimenting on me. Everything I try appears promising at the start. Then it falls apart, or explodes, or kills one of my assistants. Thankfully, when you're the only large corporation in the post-apocalypse, finding new workers isn't too difficult. I will redouble my efforts. Finally, some progress with the sludge. By adding benzene and applying gradually rising heat, I was able to create a chemical reaction bonding it to the sludge in an emulsion that appeared to clarify slightly. The good news is, it seems to contain an immense amount of chemical energy. The bad news is, I will need to design an entirely new kind of engine around it. Using it in conventional engines has proved disastrous. Staffing note, requisition 40 new test drivers. A good day. Yesterday I completed my first Chi engine. Today we tested it. The car it was fitted into immediately accelerated out of control and flew headlong into a wall, killing its driver instantly. Instantly. An incredible breakthrough. Looks like I'll need a whole control scheme to go along with my new engine. Precisely the kind of challenge I relish. I return to my design lab refreshed in the knowledge that we are on the right track. Something of a setback here today. The last of the Chi engine vehicles we have constructed was destroyed in yet another wreck by yet another incompetent tester. Hopefully all these deaths will affect some kind of natural selection on the populace. Sooner or later, those with the best traits will be the only ones left. In any case, time to get working on new test vehicles. I've been thinking about this all wrong. We shouldn't be powering our vehicles with this stuff. We should be powering our city with it. Today, I fitted a tiny chi engine into an electronic device and the most marvelous thing happened. It appeared to be somehow receiving information from some kind of external source. The look of excitement on the lab assistant's face was palpable, until it began to emit a high-pitched whine and exploded, taking their stupid faces with it. Fascinating development indeed. A most curious young woman arrived at the labs today and applied for a job. Normally, they'd be shown to the meat pens as testers for new technology. Survival rate about 13%, but the interviewer was impressed enough with the knowledge to notify me. I was able to watch the rest of the interview remotely, as this Kamiko person does appear to have a remarkable facility with chi. I was somewhat disappointed in meeting her to find out that she is quite naive, innocent even. She is a scientific purist. I remember when I did things for love, but at the end of the day I have a hard time trusting anyone who isn't in it for the power. I told her to come back tomorrow. We shall see. It appears as though I was right about Kamiko's talents. I didn't tell her this, but we made more progress today than in the past 6 months of testing. She seems to have an intuitive understanding of chi. Tomorrow I'll see what she can do with raw crude. Kamiko is now 2 for 2. She took one look at the raw crude and a big smile burst across her face. Then she started giggling, like it tickled her to be in the same room with it. Then she put her hand toward it, and it leapt onto her. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. She has uncanny control over the stuff, almost like it's a pet. The next few months should be very interesting indeed. Kamiko succeeded in creating a safe housing for electronic chi engines today, with my direction, of course. She'd be nothing without my tutelage. In any case, we're almost ready to go into full production on these devices. I can't wait until every citizen in Zilla City is carrying one. The advances we made in electronic chi engines have filtered back into our macro engines for vehicles. Controls have remained tricky, however, so we are only allowing the engines in public transportation, controlled by software and tiny electronic chi engines, of course. Amazing how these things come together once you get one piece of the puzzle. After a long period of experimentation, Kamiko has hit upon an extraordinary discovery. Our first 60 attempts went nowhere, but Compound 61 is something else entirely. This never would have happened in the pre-collision days. Using human blood as a key component for a new drug is unorthodox, and regulators would have been all over us. Another silver lining, I suppose. But now we know. If you cook blood and crude along with a few other chemicals in just the right combination, it produces this substance. And what substance it is. It induced a heightened mental state in her that gave her visions of new technologies. We haven't built any of them yet, but if these check out, they represent a giant leap forward. I'll do my own experiments tomorrow. It's always interesting to be present when humanity makes a great leap forward. Today, I tried Compound 61 for the first time. Kamiko prepared what she said was a light dose, but I'm not sure there is such a thing with this stuff. I was instantly transported to a realm of pure thought, sort of like a giant 3D whiteboard filled with answers to the thorniest engineering problems of our time. This is clearly the tool we needed to break through. The applications for chi engines continue to expand. We just completed the build-out of Zilla News Network, entirely based on chi technologies. I was able to recruit an anchor for it as well. Zing, the demon immortal. He's perfect, never gets tired and can't walk away. Amazing what you'll do for total surveillance capability when you're just a head in a box. In any case, seeing TV again seems to be having had a salutary effect on the citizens. They are appreciably more docile. Well, I wouldn't have expected this 12 months ago, but this is Zilla Industries' best sales year on record. It stands to reason, I suppose. Being the only major corporation left standing after the collision gives you a bit of a captive market. Still, it's good to know you've still got it where it counts. In the bank. Kamiko's breakthroughs are coming so quickly they're almost worrisome. She was already achieving miracles, but with the addition of Compound 61 she is quickly eclipsing with even my abilities. This is disturbing, to say the least. I had my men looking on Kamiko's lab while she was getting lunch, and what did they find in the bottom of a bag? But a laundry receipt, from a business in Calamity. I'm going to have one of my men check it out. Apparently the receipt is from a Yakuza front, and when my spy went down there, who did he see? Miss Kamiko paying a visit to her spy masters. I always knew something was off about her. She plays sweet, but she's been planning to sell me out from the beginning. Only one thing to do now, of course. You had a good run, Miss Kamiko, but you screwed up. And now I have an interesting day ahead of me. I get to dream up the best way to kill my brilliant protégé. The best part is she trusts me. When she comes to work tomorrow, it's going to be a special day. Smith Masamune Diary. Grandfather died today. I went out to bring him his morning tea and found him on his tree stump. The first tree he chopped down to build our house. His eyes were closed in his typical meditation pose. I said nothing as I waited for him to acknowledge me, as I did not want to disturb his concentration. After a few minutes, however, I knew something was amiss. "Grandfather," I said. No response. Instantly I knew what had transpired. A great sadness filled my heart, but I was quickly overwhelmed by a burning sense of gratitude for everything he had given me. He left this life today, but he gave up his life for me all these years ago. I only hope one day I am able to repay those around me who might be in need, on his behalf. After an hour of reflection, I began the process he and I talked about so many times. I lifted Grandfather in my arms and loaded him into the forge. May his carbon be for a blessing. I am finding this the most difficult sword I have ever made, both physically and emotionally. Grandfather told me this would happen. Every strike with my hammer creates a shockwave down into my very soul. He told me when I was a master, I would feel each strike this way. I thought I did. This is something different though. Still, I refuse to call myself master. He will always be my master, and I must finish his sword. After 8 days working on this sword, still I find myself strangely exhausted at the end of each day. Grandfather, if you can hear me, please ease my burden. I fight with it, and I fight with it, and I fight with it, and still it resists. I have never known a sword such as this. It is finished. It is, as Grandfather said, my hardest and best work. In shaping it, it has shaped me. I may make more swords, but I will never make another sword such as this. The soul of Masamune. I have felt at peace these last decades, with no need to record my thoughts. Now, however, my mind is again unquiet. These are dark days. Demons roam the land, killing at will. The people are scared. I don't know what the hell is going on. Things seem to have settled down, at least for now. We have many dead, but so do the demons. The collision seems to have galvanized the people though. They care less about division, at least between humans, which isn't to say our division with the demons is something to be happy with. I swore I would never do it, but I may need to move into Bushugi. The wilderness has become a very different place than it once was. Let's just say I prefer my garden to remain my garden. These days it is different every time I wake up. Novelty is usually a tonic, but there is such a thing as too much of a good thing. I have moved into an abandoned mechanic shop. No idea what happened to the owner, but it's like they were killed in a human-demon war. It's a perfect spot set up for a new forge though. Plus, with the supply difficulties lately, which is to say no supplies at all are coming in, I can provide a service, doing metalwork for plumbing, car parts, all the small things we used to take for granted. I have found a way to discharge my debt to grandfather. It will not be easy, however. Many children are losing their parents in the human-demon war. You see them everywhere, begging on the street or lying in the gutter. I have begun taking them in. I do so without condition. If all they need is a hot meal and a bed, they shall have it. But many seem interested in learning to defend themselves and their community. I now have 8 dedicated students, with several more prospects besides. It's turning into a regular dojo here. I just wish grandfather could see it. Much has happened since I last wrote. A peace of sorts has been brokered between the demons and humans. It looked for a time as though we would have a full-blown war, with one side annihilating the other. Then, just as the climatic battle was set to commence, Amiona, this strange goddess-like creature from the demon world, appeared. I was not there, but I know people who were. They said she walked calmly and with grace, naked, through the battlefield, and all who saw her gaze were pacified. Both sides sheathed their weapons and turned for home. Since then, we have been in a strange, awkward peace. I'm not sure if it's good, but I know it's better than it was before. Some demons have even moved into Bushugi, conducting their business alongside us. Just as we are outcasts from Zilla City, they seem to be outcasts from their people. There's room for everyone in Bushugi. There are so many orphan children now, it's overwhelming. Not all of them are ready for the anvil though. They are young, but they must make a choice. Smith's anvil, the Yakuza, or the street. In the street, they are taught there is no hope. In the Yakuza, they are taught to hate. Hate the people in the city. Hate the demons. Hate the man standing next to you because he might take your food, your shelter, your woman. In the anvil, however, I teach them calm. They may be grim of aspect. They may be swift of retribution. But they are unmotivated by anger. Justice is their only goal. Smith's anvil does not strike. It provides the stillness necessary to forge strength. I saw something quite remarkable today. Since the collision, I've become accustomed to seeing normal people bending chi. But today, I saw a girl about 6 years old do something truly profound. She had been surrounded by some Yakuza children. They were taunting her, shouting insults, though she didn't seem to mind. She was lost in her own world, turning over rocks and looking underneath, then putting her fingers down into the moist earth and letting the insects crawl up onto her hands. At one point she lifted them up, smiling to show the others. They were covered in bugs. The boys howled in horror. I saw one of their number pick up a rock and make to throw at her. I started running toward the group, worried I would be too late. But as I ran, the girl looked up, smiled, and shook her head at the boy. He looked baffled as he tried to throw the stone at her, but somehow could not. It was as though his hand were immobilized. His shock increased as his feet left the ground. The rock was rising above his head with him dangling from it. Once he was about 6 feet off the ground, he came to his senses and let go. As the crowd began to close in on her, the rock flew back down and began whizzing quickly around the edge of the circle. Though it struck no one, it clearly terrified the boys, who dropped to the ground cowering. At this point she stood up, regal as a queen, and calmly walked from the circle, catching the whirling rock on its next revolution. Then she walked over to the boy who had been trying to throw it, handed it to him and whispered something in his ear. He nodded and kept his head down. I think he was sobbing. I would very much like to meet this remarkable young woman. I saw another remarkable chi-bender today. A girl of about 14 this time, sitting on a rock covered in butterflies. When she got up, the butterflies flew off in a cloud and her skin was jet black. Then she began turning lighter from the head down. I realized that it was not her skin at all, but thousands of ants that had been crawling on her body and were now exiting peacefully onto the ground. I found this remarkable, so I approached her. She said her name was Kamiko. I asked her where she learned to bend chi so well. She said she didn't know what I was talking about. Amazing. I told her if she ever found herself with time on her hands, she should stop by my garage for training session. She said she would think about it. Kamiko has been coming to the dojo for several months now, and the other kids have become accustomed to her. At first they were clearly wary of her. Her chi strength is obvious and undeniable, but I think now they know she would never harm them. Attic Treasures Archive News, December 18, 1945. Prompting protests of unfair treatment, the U.S. Navy this week chose to disallow passage home for 123 Negro soldiers stationed in Japan. It is impractical to segregate these men during the long journey, said a Navy spokesman. Thus, for the safety of both the Negro and white soldiers, these men will not be allowed to sail home via troop ship. We are currently exploring the other options for repatriation, calling the situation regrettable. The Navy has promised to make every effort to bring them home, while simultaneously stressing that military manpower was desperately needed in Japan, and how grateful and generous the country would be to them, should they decide to remain in Japan and re-enlist. June 17, 1948. Scandal rocked the quiet town of Bushugi today as American Navy sailor Leroy Smith was murdered in broad daylight. Police have yet to release a list of suspects. All they know is that the serviceman was seen stumbling down the middle of the street, holding his abdomen as though in pain. His eyes were wide open, and he was sweating, said one eyewitness. Then when he fell, oh, it was awful. Witnesses on the scene say the man had suffered a massive trauma. Someone cut him wide open, another man said. His guts just spilled out all over the place. Doctors said Smith died at the scene. The American Navy is planning a full investigation over the coming weeks. New details have emerged on the case of murdered Navy sailor Leroy Smith on the main street of Bushugi yesterday. Witnesses say they saw Smith enter a laundry storefront around 1:25 p.m. I remember it because that guy, well, he kind of sticks out around here, said one resident who declined to be named. After he went in, we heard a bunch of shouting. I glanced in the window and saw a Japanese man with a bloody lip holding a watch. I went about my business. It doesn't pay to know too much about what's going on with those guys. Rumor has it that the Japanese men were members of the local Yakuza. It's not yet known why an American sailor would have any reason to deal with them. In a shocking development in Bushugi yesterday, a husband murdered his wife and took his own life. The suspect's name is Naoki Katsumata, 27, and it appears he was acting in retaliation for his wife's unfaithfulness. Just days before, she gave birth to a baby with clearly non-Japanese parentage, according to the obstetrician who delivered him. Katsumata had been in a depression for days. I'd never seen him like that, said one friend, but I can understand it after what that expletive did to him. Katsumata was stabbed 17 times and found on the floor of the kitchen, her wailing infant by her side, covered in blood. Apparently, after stabbing her, Naoki Katsumata walked to the living room and hung himself from a beam in the ceiling. Neighbors were alarmed after they heard the couple shouting at each other, followed by loud noises and breaking glass. They were a young couple, very quiet, but that night she was screaming like nothing I've ever heard, said one neighbor. Then after all that noise came an eerie silence. Then the baby started crying and wouldn't stop. After 20 minutes of uninterrupted wailing, neighbors contacted the landlord to investigate, whereupon he discovered the grisly scene. I've seen some horrifying things in my time, but nothing comes close to this, he said. How could someone do such a thing? Family members said the baby was being cared for by Katsumata's father until a permanent solution could be found. More and more anecdotal reports are piling up about reclusive swordmaker living in the forest outside of Bushugi. Authentic, folded steel katana have been appearing in the markets, and experts have tested them extensively. There's no question this is the work of a master, said one. Swords of this quality do not simply appear. It's unclear who this mystery swordmaker is, or where, for that matter, but the news is exciting to those who collect these amazing artifacts. I've never seen anything like it, said one prominent collector. To find a sword like this, in perfect brand new condition, is simply unprecedented. Mystery swordmaker's identity revealed. Putting an end to 9 years of guesswork on the part of collectors and devotees of ancient swords, it has been verified that the mystery swordmaker in the woods outside of Bushugi is none other than Masamune Satoru, descendant of the storied Masamune sword-making family. Masumune's sons, who live in Bushugi, have shown no indication that they have continued the family tradition, but Masumune's work continues unabated. Reached for comment on the matter, Masamune demurred, saying only, "Actions make swords, words make trouble." One thing of which there is no doubt, however, the quality of the swords he is making is outstanding. They now routinely fetch north of $50,000 at auction and are held in collections around the world. Masumune's early work from the 1920s is displayed in museums and historical collections around the world, but his output stopped around the beginning of the Second World War. This resurgence in his productivity is being welcomed by fans across the globe. If anything, his new products surpass the old work, said one fan. It's as though he's been practicing this whole time, and is only now revealing that his work has gone to the next level. Tenement fire claims 2. A tenement fire today claimed the lives of at least one resident, with another missing and presumed dead. Namika Yamamoto and her daughter Shiho pursued a quiet existence here. Namika wasn't well for a number of years, but her daughter always took care of her, one neighbor said. It's awful they died this way, but at least they were together. Though Namika and Shiho died penniless, an anonymous benefactor has paid for a traditional burial for the two, which will be held at Jishu Shrine at noon this Tuesday. Prodigal mob daughter returns. Sources tell us that Yakuza leader Jiro Yamaguchi made an announcement to his subordinates today that he has been reunited with his long-lost daughter. While most have greeted the news with outward happiness, we are told with the announcement is sending shockwaves through the Yakuza community, with many worried about how this could change Yamaguchi's succession plans. Suspects sought in Yakuza massacre. New leader vows revenge. In a shocking development yesterday, police and emergency workers were called to a known Yakuza compound where they found a horrific scene. 23 dead men, all high-ranking members of the Yakuza, apparently poisoned. I don't know what to think. It was awful, said Shiho Yamaguchi, daughter of Jiro Yamaguchi, Yakuza Oyabun, who was found among the dead. They just began falling down all around me. This was no accident. Indeed, soon after the incident, the entire catering staff was found massacred at the posts, apparently in retaliation. It's terrible, really, said Yamaguchi. The idea that people hired to provide our most basic needs can't be trusted to act with integrity. Their families must feel so ashamed. Still, they are better off without these awful people in their households. I hope one day they see the blessing they have been given. Yakuza heir to marry father's former lieutenant. It was announced today that Shiho Yamaguchi, daughter of legendary Yakuza Oyabun Jiro Yamaguchi, would marry Mori, one of her late father's lieutenants, and the only member of Yamaguchi's inner circle to survive last month's poisoning massacre. While the couple is downplaying their nuptials as normal, the move is widely seen as a consolidation of power and a validation of Mori as the new Yakuza Oyabun. It's very suspicious. They never so much as went on a date before the massacre, said one Yakuza watcher who declined to be named. In fact, she's never even had a boyfriend as far as we can tell. Believe me, she has no choice in this. If Yamaguchi is being coerced into marrying Mori for political purposes, it only underlines the fundamental injustice at the core of the Yakuza lifestyle. We'll bring you the latest as the story progresses. Untimely death of Oyabun leaves Yakuza in disarray. The mysterious death of Hiromori, widely believed to be the Oyabun of the Yakuza, came as a surprise today as the news of his death rippled through the community. He was a great man, said one shopkeeper. You always knew you had a friend in him. Mori leaves behind his wife of 5 years, Shiho Yamaguchi, daughter of the former Oyabun. The couple recently celebrated the birth of their daughter, Kazuko Mori. I will always remember my husband, said Yamaguchi. He was a great leader and a great father. He will be missed. Speculation is rampant over who will take over the Yakuza seat of power. A relatively young Oyabun, Mori had not yet groomed a replacement for himself. In the past, power vacuums like this have led to infighting and triggered waves of violence. So far, though, all appears calm within the Yakuza ranks. Yakuza leader Mamushi Heika's daughter passed away. Terrible news arrived today. It seems that Kazuko, beloved child of our wise, kind, and benevolent leader Mamushi Heika, has passed away at the tender age of 20. She leaves behind a grieving mother and an infant daughter, both of whom are recovering from the shock of this tragic loss. Flowers and cash gifts may be sent to Mamushi Heika via the main Yakuza compound. Rabbit of Onishima. When the goddess Amiona first came to Onishima, she walked the land with a retinue to find a suitable place to build herself a temple to live in. After many days of travel, her followers were tired and hungry. Still, the goddess persevered, saying, "A messenger will show me the way." And just then, a white hare appeared and bit the hem of her garment. "Hello, small one," spoke the goddess. "Do you have something to tell me?" The hare bounded off up a rocky slope. Amiona followed, her entourage struggling to keep up. After many hours of steep climbing, they came to a place of surpassing beauty, high in the mountains. "Let this be the place of my shrine," Amiona said to her followers. "But first, let us erect a monument to the noble hare who brought us here." On hearing this, the hare's heart swelled to such a degree that it began to rise from the earth. Indeed, he rose up into the heavens and onto the moon, and there he can still be seen to this day. The Rabbit and the Old Man. Monkey, Fox, and Rabbit were traveling through the woods when they saw an old man huddled next to a small campfire. The man's grey whiskers were covered in frost, and his skin hung from his bones. Clever Monkey said, "His fire is almost out. I will gather wood for him." The brave Fox said, "He is cold. I will creep into the sleeping bear's cave and steal his fur to keep the man warm." "The man is hungry," said Rabbit, "but I am no hunter. How can I do my part to provide for him?" Soon the fire was blazing brightly, and the old man was covered in a thick fur coat. Still, he was emaciated. The animals agreed that without food, the man would not last the night. Suddenly, Rabbit knew what he must do. Saying farewell to his friends, Rabbit leapt into the flames, offering his own body as sustenance for the old man. On seeing Rabbit's sacrifice, the old man threw off his coat to reveal his true nature. It was Yui, the god of archery. "Silly Rabbit," he shouted with delight. "I could have slain any of you in an instant, and had a nice meal for myself. But I wanted to test the limits of your compassion. Come, Rabbit, I will give you the elixir of immortality, and you shall live forever on the face of the moon. Rabbit leapt out of the fire and ascended into the heavens to the surface of the moon. To this day, when the moon is full, you can see him, keeping a watchful eye over us all, and working his mortar and pestle to create the elixir of immortality. The Moon Rabbit. The moon goddess Changi and her husband Huey, the god of archery, lived for eons as immortals in heaven, but Changi was still not satisfied. In her greed, she sought to unseat the Jade Emperor, Lord of Heaven and ruler of all beings. Thus, it was that in his wisdom, the Jade Emperor banished the two wicked gods to the earth, where they wandered in hardship, once again enduring the strains of mortal flesh. Huey was on the forest hunting for food one day, when he came across the Queen Mother of the West, who was conversing with a rabbit perched on her shoulder. Mistaking her for a deer, in a single motion, Huey notched an arrow and drew back his bow to strike. The Queen Mother cried out, and at the last moment, Huey turned his arrow, killing the rabbit perched on her shoulder instead of her. Though upset, the Queen Mother understood that Huey had chosen the correct path. After hearing his pitiful tale, she wanted to thank him for his difficult choice, and resolved to make an elixir of immortality for Huey and Changi. She warned Huey to be careful, to only take half of the potion, however, to make sure his wife would become immortal alongside him. When Huey returned to Changi, he was overjoyed. "I have found a way home," he cried, showing her the elixir. Changi could not believe their good fortune. "Husband," she said, "let us spend one last night on the earth as mortals, that we might remember our suffering and never be tempted by wickedness again." "You are indeed wise, my darling," said Huey. That night, Changi waited until Huey was asleep, and she arose alone. "Stupid Huey," she laughed to herself. "Never leave your most valuable possession in someone else's care." Then she drank the entire elixir in a single gulp. "I feel life was rushing through me," she shouted. Soon, however, her joy turned to alarm as she felt herself becoming lighter and lighter. Still, she was reluctant to wake Huey and have him see her betrayal. Finally, as her feet lifted from the earth, she could not help herself. "Huey, help!" she shouted. "I am floating away." Huey awoke to see his frantic wife waving and shouting. "Huey, what have you done to me?" she cried plaintively. Huey shook his head sadly as his wife faded to a speck overhead. Then he placed his bow and quiver on his back and set off for new adventures, his heart lighter with new knowledge. He might be doomed to be mortal, but it was a small price to pay to avoid eternity with a deceitful, inconstant companion. For her part, Chang'e floated higher and higher until finally she landed on the moon. "Took you long enough," said the rabbit, who sat pounding mochi in a pestle. "But I am thankful the goddess has sent me a helper. Now we can work together for all eternity. The gods will have the mochi tonight." The Legend of the Hare. "Rabbit, rabbit, what do you see when you jump? The 15th night moon is not nearly enough. Jump into the night and dance with the moon. No time to sleep. The party's just starting." The Hare of Inaba, Part 1. There once was a hare who lived on the island of Oki. He lived a happy life, playing on the shore every day and gazing across the water to Inaba. However, over time, he became consumed with the idea of visiting the faraway shore. "I will go to that wondrous land one day, if it kills me," he said to himself. One day, the hare saw a crocodile lounging by the water's edge. "Hello, Mr. Crocodile," said the hare. "You aren't like any rabbit I've ever seen." "Ho, ho, ho, little bunny," said the crocodile. "I am no rabbit. I am a crocodile, the fiercest of all creatures." "Your jaws are strong, and your teeth are sharp," said the hare. "I have no doubt of your ferocity, but we rabbits have a different power. Rather than kill other creatures to survive, we outnumber them, adding to the world rather than subtracting. We are, as they say, thickened to a fault." "You have much to learn, small one," said the crocodile, "for not only are crocodiles ferocious, there are more of us in the world than any other animal." "Impossible," said the rabbit. "Silly rabbit," shouted the crocodile. "Your kin fill the land, but mine fill the ocean. And is not the ocean greater than the land?" "Are there enough of your brethren to reach from Oki to Inaba?" asked the sly rabbit. "I think not." "My brethren could span the whole of the China Sea," spouted the crocodile. "Meet me here tomorrow, and I will show you." The Hare of Inaba, Part 2. The next day the hare returned to find the line of crocodiles stretching across the water all the way to Inaba. "Ho, ho, little bunny," shouted the crocodile. "Now will you accept our dominance?" "An impressive showing, to be sure," replied the rabbit. "But I would be remiss if I did not count your number. I will run across your backs, counting each of you in turn." "Very well," said the crocodile, "if that is what you need to be satisfied." And so the rabbit ran over the backs of the crocodiles towards Inaba, shouting the number of each one as he went. "These crocodiles may be ferocious," he thought to himself, "but they are stupid. They don't even realize I am using them to realize my dream of traveling to Inaba." As the rabbit neared the shore, he was overcome by his pride and shouted, "Thank you for being my bridge, stupid crocodiles," he shouted. "There may be more of you, and your jaws may be longer, but you will never match the cunning mind of the hare." Hearing this, the crocodiles became enraged, and as it happened, the last crocodile in line was the very same one the hare had spoken with the previous day. As the hare ran past him, the crocodile snapped, catching the hare's fur in his jaws, pulling it from his body. Thus, thanks to his cleverness, did the hare reach Inaba alive. But, thanks to his pride, he did so without fur or skin. The hare lay on the shore and wept. He was in pain, he was alone, and he was utterly unable to help himself. Part 3. A retinue of 80 noblemen were travelling to seek the hand of Princess Yakami of Inaba. On their journey they passed near the sea, and on its banks they found a pitiful hare that had been flayed near to death by crocodiles. "Please, good sirs," croaked the pitiful hare, "can you ease my pain?" The first of the noblemen was amused by the hare's predicament and played a trick on him. "Go and bathe in the ocean," he said. "Then allow the wind to dry your skin. Your hair will grow back in no time." "Thank you, sir," said the hare, and did as he was instructed. The salt water seared his skin. Then when he dried it in the wind, it became hard and cracked. The hare's agony was immeasurable. "Help me!" he shrieked as the nobleman laughed. The second noble pretended to take pity on the rabbit, saying, "Silly rabbit, this cure only works when performed twice." So the hare again endured the pain of the water and the crackling of the air on his skin, and again he howled in agony. Laughing, the cruel nobleman moved on. Behind the nobles came a lone man with a cart dressed in simple fashion, carrying the nobleman's personal effects. Upon seeing the pitiful hare, he stopped, asking what he could do to help. "I know your tricks," exclaimed the hare. "Do not tell me to bathe in the ocean." "The ocean would only burn you," said the man. "You must bathe in the fresh water of the river. Then use the soft cattails that grow by the river's edge to dry your skin. Your fur will grow back as good as new." Desperate, the hare followed the man's advice, and to his delight, his skin began to heal and his fur began to grow back. "Thank you, sir. I will never forget your kindness," he exclaimed. Think nothing of it," said the man. "Where are you noblemen going, anyway?" asked the hare. "Oh," said the man, laughing, "I am no nobleman, only a porter to these men on their journey to see Princess Hikami. They wish to ask her hand in marriage." "If there be justice in this world, she will choose none of them," said the grateful rabbit. "Instead, she will choose you for her husband." "Would that were true, little hare, would that were true," the man replied, and he resumed pushing the heavy cart down the road. Part 4. The 80 noblemen reached Princess Yakami's palace and were ushered into her presence. The princess sat serenely next to the royal koi pond with a white rabbit perched on her shoulder. She interviewed each man in turn, turning to the rabbit on the shoulder after each one. While she was surpassingly polite and complimentary with each of them, each in his turn understood he was not the suitor she sought. When she had done with all 80 of them, with a smile she asked, "Are there no more who would seek my hand?" Frustrated and tired, the first nobleman burst out, "If your highness finds all of us unacceptable, perhaps you would be happier with our porter." "Bring me this porter," said the princess, laughing. Thus was the porter shown forward. The rabbit seemed to nibble at her ear, as though whispering. "Should I take you as my husband, porter?" the princess asked playfully. "Not if your highness would marry a man of high birth," the porter replied. "And if I care not for a man of high birth, but rather a man of honor?" asked the princess. "Then, princess, many would call you a fool," said the porter. "Would you call me a fool?" asked the princess. "Oh, you are no fool, princess," replied the porter. "I would be the fool, were I to do so." "Will you marry me, porter?" said the princess. "Silly princess, you hardly know me," said the porter. "Then let us become acquainted," she said. And in that instant, the two were transformed into hares. They scampered into the forest. In the same instant, the rabbit who had perched on the princess's shoulder was transformed into a fearsome warrior. "Hello, gentlemen," laughed the warrior in a booming voice. "Who wants to play a game of skin the nobleman and throw me into the sea?" The 80 suitors fell over each other to flee the chamber and scattered into the countryside, never to be heard from again. The Story of Nobitsura Kage, Part 1. I will tell you, dearest one, of the deeds of the brave and noble Itsuse no Mikoto, eldest brother of Emperor Jimmu, grandson of Amaterasu, and the storm god Susanoo, son of Ikonagisa Tagagaya, Fukiyaizu no Mikoto, and Tamayori Hime. When his youngest brother, Yamato Ihare Hiku no Mikoto, had attained adulthood, Itsuse no Mikoto took him away from Takachiu on a tour of the kingdom to establish and strengthen their family's empire. They traveled until they reached Kusaka, where they encountered Naga Tsunehiku, the long-legged man. Naga Tsunehiku expressed joy at their arrival, inviting them to dine with him in his palace. When they reached the appointed place, they found no palace, only an open field. Suddenly, Naga Tsunehiku appeared behind them. What do you think? He asked. I see no palace, friend, replied Itsuse no Mikoto. Correct, replied the long-legged man. My palace is not of this earth. What fiend are you? Challenged Yamato Harehiko no Mikoto. A fiend in need, replied the long-legged man, and a fiend indeed. I'm come to you in my hour of peril. My family is in grave danger. Our world faces invasion by the forces of darkness. We are not strong enough to defend ourselves alone, so I've come to find this world's fiercest warriors to help us fight back the shadow. Come away, brother. This man speaks nonsense, said Yamato Harehiko no Mikoto, but Itsuse no Mikoto was entranced by the man's words. What will you reward me if I fight for you, stranger one? Asked Itsuse no Mikoto. The long-legged man laughed. You shall be rewarded past your wildest dreams, he said. What do you desire most? To be the greatest swordsmith in the world, replied Itsuse no Mikoto. And so you shall be, replied the long-legged man. My brother is a craftsman beyond compare. If you help us, we shall train with Hoji himself. Lead on then, friend, said Itsuse no Mikoto. Let us see this unseen land of yours. Part 2. When Itsuse no Mikoto expressed his desire to go with the long-legged man to his mysterious realm, his youngest brother expressed his dismay. How do we know this man is telling the truth? He cried. Don't worry, youngest brother. I can smell a lie like a dead rat, replied Itsuse no Mikoto. Besides, this man is unarmed. I will see where this adventure leads. Remain here if you wish. I will return for you. And with that, Itsuse no Mikoto and the long-legged man vanished from view. The next thing Itsuse no Mikoto knew, he was in a world the likes of which he had never seen. Mighty jet-black rivers coursed through harsh mountain cliffs. Vast forbidding temples towered over the landscapes, and the sky was the color of fresh blood. Everywhere proud, strong demons were arrayed as though for war. Circling overhead, however, and teeming from one end of the landscape were wisps that looked like shadows. Though they appeared almost formless, they struck fear into Itsuse no Mikoto's heart. What is this place? Itsuse no Mikoto asked. My family's home, replied the long-legged man, under attack by forces from beyond understanding. What will you do? Perish, if you do not have your assistance. Part 3. How can I help your realm? Itsuse no Mikoto asked the long-legged man. You can forge a sword for us, replied the long-legged man. I am but a novice smith, replied Itsuse no Mikoto. No matter, said the long-legged man. My brother Hoji is an excellent teacher. You Wang, said a voice from behind Itsuse no Mikoto. He turned to see a small, spry demon with a mischievous aspect. Brother, this human has agreed to make the sword, said the long-legged man. I did nothing of the... Itsuse no Mikoto began. There's no time to lose, shouted the long-legged man. Take him to your workshop and teach him your ways. Hurry! Yes, your worship, replied Hoji, leading the man away. Who are you? asked Itsuse no Mikoto. Little old me, replied the demon, cackling. I am sugar in a rainstorm. I am lightning in the bath. I am a short walk off a long pier, and I don't take yes for an answer. Oh, and don't pay Mezu any mind. He gets this way sometimes. Rude and bossy. It simply won't do. After this, the demon laughed long enough for Itsuse no Mikoto to question its sanity. Itsuse no Mikoto followed the demon Hoji to his workshop, wherein he witnessed all manner of charms and magical devices. When he inquired about them, the demon spoke to him about their properties in riddles. Much of the time you could not divine the demon's meaning. Then they came to the forge. "Come closer, curious human," said Hoji. "Why?" asked Itsutsuno Makoto. "So that I may teach you," shouted the demon, and dove into Itsutsuno Makoto's chest. What followed was a blur. Itsutsuno Makoto had become one with the demon, and they embarked on an ecstasy of smithing. Later, Itsutsuno Makoto would only remember fits and snatches of what had happened. When he came to his senses again, he saw that a magnificent sword had been forged. It was crackling with wild energy he had never seen before. "What is this blade, strange one?" asked Itsutsuno Makoto. "The sword you made," the demon replied, "with a little help from your friend." After Itsutsuno Makoto had recovered his senses, he reckoned with the sword he had forged in a trance. "What is this energy around the blade, Hoji?" he asked the demon. "Pick it up and see for yourself," the demon replied. You first," said Itsutsuno Makoto. "Oh, I couldn't," said the demon. "I mean it. The katana you have forged is called the Nobitsura Kage, the Eater of Shadows. Any being from this realm who touches it will be instantly destroyed. That is why I needed your hands to forge it." "And what if I use it to kill you?" asked Itsutsuno Makoto. "I would die, even though I am immortal," replied the demon, "which would put you in a very tricky spot, unless you have a good explanation for my brothers as to why I am dead." "And if I kill them too?" "You will still have a devil of a time getting home," replied the demon, and cackled for several minutes straight. He seemed to find the situation extremely amusing. When he had recovered himself, the demon said, "Come on then, we shouldn't keep Enra waiting. He's a big baby about things like that." And so Itsutsuno Mikoto picked up the Nobitsura Kage and followed the demon through the wild, forbidding landscape, teeming with demons beset by swirling shadows. "There's my little Enrapu," shouted Hoji. They had reached a massive temple. Once inside, it took Itsutsuno Mikoto and his demon companions several minutes to reach the figures assembled at its center. There he beheld 3 imposing demons, alongside a beautiful but sad figure. She appeared to have been weeping. "Miss, are you all right?" shouted Itsutsuno Mikoto. "What is the meaning of this? What have they done to you?" "Fear not, mortal," said the largest of the demons in a slow, sonorous voice. "That's Enra," whispered Hoji in Itsutsuno Mikoto's ear. "The big cheese." "We thank you for your help in this matter," continued Enra. "Only the power of Nobitsura Kage can do what is necessary to save our realm." "Blah, blah, blah," whispered the tiny demon. "It just goes on and on and on and on." "Silence, Hoji," shouted Enra. "This is a matter of great importance." "Yes, sir, Mr. Bossman, sir," said Hoji, as he fitted up to a perch above the assemblage. Enra spoke slowly and deliberately. "I do not expect you to fully comprehend what you are doing, but it is your right to know something of our intent. Do you understand?" Itsutsuno Mikoto nodded. "Our realm has been under attack for millennia by the shadow from beyond all knowledge," Enra continued. "Zing has fought valiantly, but his armies are on the heels. Now, however, Mezu's ingenuity has brought us renewed hope." "Seems you're the only inventor in the family," Mezu said pointedly to Oji. "Oh, I'm quashed, absolutely quashed," said Hoji, pretending to cry. Ignoring them, Enro went on. "We believe that the gates Mezu has constructed are strong enough to shut out the shadow forever. But we have a problem. All of our energy flows from here," drawled Mezu. "It is true," continued Enra, But we have a solution. Seal the gates using an immortal soul. Once sealed, that soul will become a conduit for chi, enabling us to survive. The blade you have forged is the instrument by which this can be accomplished. And you are the only one in this realm who can wield it. And the only one in this realm who can boss you around, boss man, cackled Hoji from his perch. Silence! Thundered Enra, shaking the foundations of the massive temple. When all was quiet again, he continued. So, mortal, will you help us? Will you perform this ritual on our behalf? Will you save our realm? That depends, replied Itsutsune Mikoto, on whether we can reach an acceptable arrangement. Get paid, homeboy, screeched Hoji, apoplectic with glee. I will perform this act for you on one condition, said Itsutsune Mikoto, that you promise the demon realm will never again molest the human realm. He seeks to control us, brother, said Mezu icily. We have little choice in the matter, said Enra. It shall be so, mortal. And what will be my guarantee of your promise? Asked Itsutsune Mikoto. He questions your honor, said Mezu with sulky reproach. He does not know us, brother, replied Mezu, his voice like a granite mountain. What do you suggest, mortal? Once I perform this ritual, the Nobitsura Kage shall be mine to keep, said Itsutsune Mikoto. If it remains in the hands of the humans, if you break your promise, we will have a way to retaliate. Again he insults us, seethed Mezu. Oh, put a sock in it, you old goon, cackled Hoji from his high perch. He can smell the stink on you a mile away. Hoji, I will see you ended if it is the last thing I do, said Mezu, withdrawing a few steps. It shall be as you desire, mortal, said Enra. When the ritual is concluded, the Nobitsura Kage shall be yours. You should have asked for a pony too, shouted Hoji with glee. You would have gotten it. With the negotiations concluded, Enra bade Itsutsune Mikoto to follow him. They walked for several miles through the blasted landscape as demons and shadows swirled around them, locked in their struggles. The sorrowful woman followed behind them. Finally, they came to an altar that stood before a massive set of gates. Beyond the gates lay a blackness deeper than anything Itsutsune Mikoto thought possible. From it, a gibbering chaos pulled at his soul. He was struck with an unstoppable urge to cast himself into it, though he knew it would end his life. In an attempt to banish the urge, he looked away, and when he did, he saw the sorrowful woman was now prone on the altar, tears streaming down her face. It is time, said Enra. What do I do? Asked Itsutsune Mikoto. Project your chi through the sword and into the gates, said Enra. The rest will flow naturally. Just like riding a pony, shouted Hoji. Only the pony is a giant portal to the shadowy chaos beyond all understanding. You're lovers! Quiet, strange one, said Itsutsune Mikoto. I must concentrate. What followed was a sore test of Itsutsune Mikoto's soul. He closed his eyes and allowed his chi to flow through the blade. Though he could not see, he knew the energy had connected, like a lightning bolt, to the gates. Then came an enormous scraping sound, like a titan scraping the soul of the world. Itsutsune Mikoto opened his eyes and saw the gates moving toward one another. A strange ether had emerged from them and reached out to envelop the sorrowful woman, lifting her into the air. She gave no sob, but her eyes had become rivers of tears. Ituchi no Makoto felt something on his feet and looked down to see the temple had begun to fill with the product of his sorrow. He was locked now, in an energetic embrace with a sword, the gates, the woman. Though the water rose, he remained rooted to the spot, unable to move. The gates moved closer together, and still the water rose. It was up to his waist. The woman began an unearthly, keening moan. Years after he left his brother's side, Itsutsune Makoto walked into Emperor Jimu's palace at Yamamoto, his clothes in rags and near death. "Brother, is it really you?" cried Emperor Jimu. "I know not any longer," replied Itsutsune Makoto. I have seen things no man should see. But I have brought back a prize more precious than jewels. Itsutsune Makoto then produced a marvelous katana. None of the assembled nobles had seen its equal. "Brother, where did you obtain such a blade?" asked Emperor Jimu, incredulous. "I made it," replied Itsutsune Makoto. "And now, I must unmake it." Saying this, he removed the sword from its tuba and detached the blade from its tsuka. "What are you doing, brother?" asked Emperor Jimu. "Fetch your 3 bravest warriors," said Itsutsune Makoto. "Quickly!" Emperor Jimu did as his brother asked. When they were assembled, Itsutsune Makoto addressed them. "Each of you are to take a piece of this blade and fly in opposite directions. After 2 weeks' journey, find the most forbidding place in the land and secure your piece of this katana there. No one must ever find it." At this last instruction, each of the men nodded severely, understanding the gravity of what they were being asked to do. Then each sprinted to his horse and rode in opposing direction. "Brother, why would you scatter this magnificent katana, the prize you have suffered so dearly for?" asked Emperor Jimu. "The Nobitsura Kage?" laughed Itsune Makoto. "It is no prize, and will only bring woe to those who seek it. No, the prize I speak of is inside me. I have learned many curious things about the manufacture of swords, and I intend to use them. Once I am rested, I will away to my new home. There, I will make katana until I die." "Stay here with me, brother," implored Emperor Jimu. "The Empire needs you." "You must trust me, brother. I will do more good to the Empire making katana than I will here with you," replied Itsutsune Makoto. "Tell the people I am dead. I do not wish to be disturbed in my work." And so it was that Itsutsune Makoto perished, or rather, was left alone to hone his craft. Though he changed his name, his blades were unmistakable. The stuff of legend. All lucky enough to wield the Masamune blade were changed forever. It is said that the spark of knowledge from the demon who possessed Itsutsune Makoto was passed down to his son, and to his son's son, and down and over, and age in and age out of rhyme. And those, dearest one, are some of the deeds of the brave and noble Itsutsune Makoto, eldest brother of Emperor Jimu, and grandson of Amaterasu and the storm god Susanoo, son of Hikonagisa Takugaya, Fikaizu no Mikoto, and Tamayori Hime. The end. Kazuko Mori Diary, Part 1. Mom is really angry today. What is her problem? She acts like she runs the world, but she has no idea who I even am inside. I'm gonna go see Daddy. He always makes time for me. I'm so frustrated, I don't know what to do. My father dies and no one will tell me anything. Not to mention the fact that I'm stuck with Mom now for like ever. Ugh, I hate her so much. Today, was the scariest day of my life. There were all these creatures coming out of the ground and killing everyone. Blood everywhere. Mom grabbed me and took me to a safe room in the basement. She has food, water, everything we need to survive for weeks. But what happens when those weeks are up? I'm really, really scared. But at least Mom is doing a good job protecting me for once. Was that so hard? 3 weeks later and she's back to her old ways. At least now I understand exactly what she does. I knew she was into some shady stuff, but I had no idea how far down it went, or how high up she was. She's been taking care of the town a lot too, though. Even the people who don't take drugs or gamble. I'm seeing a whole new side of her. Is it weird to be happy about a demon apocalypse? I knew it couldn't last. Mom came to me today with a proposal. Wait, no. Mom came to me today with an ultimatum. Do what she says or fend for myself in the wilderness. No one can survive out there. They say the ground isn't even solid. Anyway, she couldn't tell me what I had to do, but she made me promise to do it, whatever it was. I'm a grown-up. I deserve to know what she's got planned for me. I want to die. That was the single worst experience of my life. Are they even hands? His touch was like ice and fire at the same time, and I had to take it. I'm sorry, honey, she says, like that means something. Like that takes away the pain in my body, in my soul. I'm some kind of bargaining shit for her and some sick game she's playing with this perverted freak. I thought I would feel better the day after it happened, but I've just been getting worse for a week. I feel so sick and so tired I can hardly hold my head up. It's been 2 weeks with no relief. I think he infected me with something. They've been keeping me away from everyone too. I can't get any information about what's going on. 2 days ago my belly started to grow, like I'm pregnant or something. Except I shouldn't be growing this fast. It was a tiny bump when I first noticed it, and today it's a watermelon. Why won't anyone talk to me? I tried to kill myself yesterday, but I was too weak. I'd barely gotten the bedsheet over the beam by the time I had to sit down. Then 2 men rushed in and bundled me back into bed. The timing was too good. They must have a camera on me. My belly is so large now I can't sit up, and it aches like it wants to burst open. I dreamed last night that it did, and 10 million tiny spiders poured out. It was awful. I'm so tired, but I'm afraid to go to sleep, because I know I'll have the dream again. The pain is worse than ever today, but something wonderful happened. I spoke to my baby. I know it sounds crazy, so maybe that's the explanation, but I swear I could hear her plain as day. Mama, I love you, she says. And then she asked me questions about the world. We talked for hours. I swear I told her everything I knew. It's funny though. The nurses don't seem to be able to hear her. Oh well, their loss. She's wonderful. I've decided to name her Kamiko. Wait till Mom hears about this. She'll be so happy. She's going to be a grandma. I'm as big as a house, and the pain is terrible. But I'm so happy today. I spoke to Kamiko again, and she says she's coming to see me. She says she needs to see me right away so she can hold me and love me and take care of me. Isn't that silly? Who ever heard of a child taking care of her parent? Certainly not one as young as me. Or her, for that matter. Anyway, she says she's going to come out and see me this afternoon, which is ridiculous. I've only been pregnant for 3 weeks. Well, kids say the silliest things. Leroy Smith Diary Part 1. Over the past 2 years, I've really managed to become comfortable here in Japan. Things were rough, but the occupation government has really done some good here. I'm going to miss this place. If you told me that when I got here, I never would have believed you. In particular, I've started going to more and more Japanese places, instead of the ones that cater to Americans. I don't understand all the formalities, but they humor me. The uniform probably helps. There's a girl at this tea house I go to sometimes. Today, she nodded to me as I sat down and smiled before looking away in embarrassment. It might be the cutest thing I've ever seen. She's there every time I go in, but today was the first time she actually waited on me. I spoke the few words I knew in Japanese, and she seemed genuinely impressed. I mean, I've been here 2 years. You'd hope I'd pick up something, but that smile of hers. Man! At the end, when I paid, our hands touched for a brief second, and she turned bright red. I wish I wasn't being redeployed next week. How the hell do you say that in Japanese? Stupid fucking Navy. Don't know why I re-enlisted. Except I do. They fucked me, then offered me money. Same reason I do everything else. But this crap, getting moved around like some kid tossing a handful of gravel, seems like everyone has a stick up their arse in this town. I want to go back to Bushugi, walk into that tea house, see some smiles, giggles, whispers. One day. It's a little better here. At least I got my boys with me. People seem a little less uptight around town too, but I haven't seen anyone like that girl from the tea house. I think about her all the time. Maybe I just need to get laid. Rumor is the brat is going to pull us out of here any day now. Can't come quick enough for me. When I left Cleveland, I told myself I'd never go back. Now all I want is to walk through my parents' door in full dress, see Mama's tears, shake Pop's hand. I wonder what they'd think if I had someone with me. Pop, this is... Oh shit, I don't even know her name. Good plan, Leroy. Good plan. Well, it's official. We're mobilizing next week, heading home. I got some leave stored up though. Gonna take a little trip back down to that tea house. Pay a visit out of uniform. She probably doesn't even remember me. Ah, screw it though. I got a thumb. Time to stick it out. Shit. What a day. After a week of hitchhiking, I finally rolled into town and headed straight for the tea house. Before I even sat down, I asked her if we could see each other sometime. Been practicing that phrase for weeks now. And damn if she looked like some shot-at dog. Then she shook her head and pointed to her left hand. She's engaged. Don't think she was when I left. Pretty sure I would have noticed that. Anyway, I ate my meal anyway. Then at the end of it, she slips me a note with the check. Says to not let on, but I should meet her tonight. Well, never thought it would play out like this. Oh well, play the hand you're dealt, right? Talk about a crazy night. We only speak a few words of each other's languages, but we talked till 4 a.m. She was worried her parents would find out she was away, or I think she should have stayed longer. And then we kissed. I've been thinking about that kiss for 8 months. The real thing was about 1,000 times better than my imagination. We're going to get together again tonight. Japan has turned everything I thought I knew inside out. This place is seriously fucked up. I is engaged to a guy she doesn't love, a guy she barely even knows. Makes my blood boil when I think about it. Then I see her face and I can't think about anything anymore. It's been getting serious between us. I go to the tea house every day just so I can see her a little more. I don't sit in her section, of course, and she doesn't acknowledge me apart from basic politeness. But it's good just to be near her. I can't take it anymore. I can't stand seeing her, knowing we'll never be together. Screw it. Tonight, I'm going to ask her to come away with me. Home. Back to the States. Come on, Leroy. You can do this. What the hell happened to this town? Suddenly, no one will talk to me. Shops won't sell me anything, not even a cup of tea. Thank goodness for or I'd have a hard time even eating. Oh well, we won't be here for much longer. I said yes. She's going to run away with me. Now I just have to sell this watch and get the cash I need for a ticket. There's a ship leaving for Kobe next week, so I better find someone who'll do business with me. Fast. This is so frustrating. Lowballing ass motherfuckers. Who the fuck do they think they're dealing with? $20 for this watch? You gotta be kidding. Slow down, Leroy. Take a breath. They want this thing. You can give them a good price and still walk away with enough money for passage. You go back tomorrow and you tell them you're not interested in fighting. You just want a fair price for a real watch. Can't believe that squirrely fuck. Jiro, they were calling him. Try lowballing me again, motherfucker.